Great. We're looking at 302. Welcome to the monthly Public Safety Committee for the City of San Clemente. Today is June 28th, Tuesday, 2022. And I'd like to call the meeting to order. Pledge allegiance.
We do it.
Would you, please?
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Attini, would you call the roll, please?
All right. Chief Capobianco.
I'm here.
Captain Benfield.
Here.
Captain Malott. He did call me and let me know that he is saving lives. He's a little wrapped up right now. Committee member Janice. Committee member Leffler. Aye. Vice Chair Hightower.
Present.
Chair Percuda.
Here. Got it. Thank you. We have a special presentation. Let's start off with Chief Capobianco. Tell us about fire.
Perfect. Do we have a controller, or are you my controller?
I can, if you want to control it, you'd have to stand over here because I don't think the remote is that
That's okay.
good.
I'll
But just let me know.
Okay. So I've been asked to talk a little bit about wildfire safety. It's been a big topic, obviously, this year with the fires that we're seeing across the state. Orange County has been impacted significantly with 3 large fires, which is very unusual for us, but this year-round fire season that we keep hearing about. So I wanted to talk a little about fire safety, but it's going to be really geared towards the homeowner. And in my opinion, there really is more that we can do. There's things that we've done with, and we'll talk about fuel modifications and defensible space, but the individual homeowner, and if I can help get some messaging and some education out on lessons that have been learned in California over the last 3-4 years, all the way up to the coastal fire, and some of what we saw took the homes in Laguna Niguel about a month ago now. So, and then we can compare that to last year's fires in Irvine, when we had more modern homes with more current fire code, and what's the difference? Why are we losing homes in some places and not in others? So I want to start a little bit with a video. This was from the Holy Fire, so 2 years ago now. And we spend so much time when we talk about, you can go ahead and start it, Adam, please. We talk so much about, is there sound involved with it?
Oh boy.
No,
okay.
there. You know what there is? Hold on a second.
If it's
phased this out
possible.
last time.
We spend so much time talking about defensible space and fuel modifications and removal of fuels, but we don't talk about ember cast. Embers are what is taking out 90% of our homes, and this is a good example. That's ornamental vegetation. That is a Italian cypress tree that's in front of that home. It had a good defensible space to the right. It came up a hill to the right there. Not significant winds. The winds were coming up from Lake Elsinore. And if you look, it's a little bit hard to see on this TV, but you'll be able to see this ember cast. Look at the embers coming off of that Italian cypress and coming up over the hill. Right about in the center of it, you're going to see this. That's perfect. So look at the size of some of these embers, and we're going to talk about how to keep embers out of your home. A little bit hard to see on here, but there's literally a whirlwind of embers right in the middle, pushing up against the house. I've got some other videos, another short one from the coastal fire that shows the ember cast. So we can go ahead and go to that PowerPoint, please, Adam. So what we're going to talk about is wildfire safety and OCFA's Ready, Set, Go program. I'm not going to concentrate so much on the set and the go piece. We'll talk about it, but getting your home ready. hardening your home, and what the individual homeowner can do. It's not if San Clemente is going to get a wildfire, it's when. As we've seen through Orange County, and the drought and the fire behavior that we're seeing in the Emerald Fire was January. The Jim Fire was out on San Diego Canyon, Holy Jim Canyon. That was in March, and then we just had the coastal fire. So it's not if, but it's when San Clemente gets their next impact from a fire. Next slide, please. So we look back to Laguna Fire back in 1993. Remember, for those of you that were around back then, the Miracle House, the bottom house right there. And there was a lot of question as to, did they get lucky? Did they, was it truly a miracle? And the answer is no. That house had been remodeled fairly recently. There was good fuel modification and fuel removal below the house, but the attic vents were up to the current fire code. Stucco siding, tile roof, enclosed eaves, enclosed porches. That house was built to be more survivable in a fire. So it wasn't a miracle, it wasn't by chance. It was the way that house was built. And one thing that is a challenge here in San Clemente, in 2017, the 2007 fire codes changed. And so when fire codes change, it's from lessons learned, and it's from what we've seen across the state that is causing our homes to burn. And so what we don't do is you don't go retroactive and make all the pre-existing homes come up to a new fire code. But when you see new communities like we see in the east end of Irvine with the bonfire and the San Diego fire, those were all built to the most recent fire code. One of our challenges here in San Clemente is, and it'll be a responsibility of the homeowner, and there's some cost to it, that's what we'll talk about, but how to retrofit and bringing current homes, pre-existing homes, up to the current fire code. Next slide. So we've done a really good job here in San Clemente and all throughout Orange County of fuel modifications when you look at Talago, when that was built, and maintaining those fuel mods. OCFA and the city code enforcement do a really good job to ensure the HOAs are maintaining their fuel modification zones. Defensible space, that 100 feet between the natural vegetation and the structures themselves. So we've done a really good job of maintaining those. But as we're seeing, and as we saw in the coastal fire, that ember cast and ember intrusion into these homes are making the big difference. 90% of the homes that are destroyed, they're thinking, are from ember cast. Next slide, please. So a little bit on the basics. You have your three things that can affect your homes. You have a direct flame contact, so that's if your natural vegetation, or even with that first video, the Italian cypress right up against the house. When vegetation is so close to the house and you get actual flame making contact with your home. With all of our fuel modifications and our defensible space, we've done a really good job at keeping that direct flame contact back. Radiant heat is, once again, a lot of vegetation up close to a home. You get radiant heat with older single pane windows. You can get fires starting inside of the homes, drapes and lightweight curtains, that type of thing. You can even get some of those older windows cracking and opening and breaking because of that radiant heat. But the big thing I want to talk about today is the embers and the ember cast and that home ignition zone. So one of the thoughts right now is you get embers with a St. Anna wind that are hit inside of your stucco home, and they either go up, they go into that, they look for a way to get in through the attic vents or your eaves, or they fall down to the ground. And if you think of your own home, what is your house surrounded by? Is it surrounded by planters with bark and mulch that can catch fire? Is it surrounded by plants, woody plants? All those embers are now landing and collecting at the base of your house. Do you have storage sheds right next to your house? What do you have in that 0 to 5 foot space that surrounds your house? And that's where we can make a big difference. Next slide, please. Are you able to play this video? you click it again, hopefully it plays. So this was from the coastal fire. There's no sound on it. But if you look up, and I'll see if we can tell on this, but you can see all those embers going across the street. And they're going right in. So if you look at what those firefighters are doing, they're trying to control that ember cast that's going, trying to keep them out of the attic vents. And some of the stuff that we saw for that, actually the next slide is one of the good examples. When we think of that 0 to 5 foot space around your home and what we can do to make a difference. Next slide, please. One more. So before we play this video, so it's the same house that we're looking at, but if you look on the right, you'll see a melted air conditioner. And right in front of it, there's a little black blob of plastic, which used to be a trash can. So when we talked about that 0 to 5 foot, and as the homeowners leave, pull your trash cans away from the house. Luckily, there was a firefighter that was in the front yard when that trash can caught fire, and if you play the video, they pulled a hose line and were able to control that fire. That's the type of things that are causing our homes to burn. It's not that direct, it's not that 200-foot flame length coming from a hillside. It's not the radiant heat. A lot of it is embers landing on combustibles, whether it's trash cans, whether it's patio furniture, mulch and bark in the planters next to your house. That's where homeowners can make a difference. Next slide.
Is that supposed to be a walkway?
So it's a walkway between two homes on the right. So it's a gate, and then you've got a 10-foot clearance between the two homes. So it's all stucco. It's a concrete. It's concrete. It's got the air conditioner, but it had the trash can right next to it.
So you have to step up on that wall to walk down the side of the house?
No, you can fit between the air conditioner and that little stucco wall.
Oh.
Yeah,
What set the trash can on fire? Was this
embers.
from the fire across the street?
Correct.
Oh.
So this was actually across the street. So you had the hillside that came up. You had 50 to 70 foot large backyards. You had a set of homes, a street, and then this is across that street. So embers going, and so on a windy Santa Ana day, you can get embers a quarter mile, half mile, over a mile landing, looking for somewhere. Another example, I don't have a picture on it here, is patio furniture. A lot of times we store our patio furniture up against the house so that it's out of the rain and out of the sun. 2 streets below, so 3 streets away from where this fire front was, we had a chair underneath a window that was open. So they always keep that window open. The cushions had been removed from the chair, so it left the plastic straps that support the cushions. Those caught fire, stained the stucco siding right below an open window. If the cushion was on top of that chair where that ember landed, probably would have burned down that house. Those are the kind of things that we don't think about. My wife, we had to prepare for one of the recent fires, and I asked her, I go, would it ever cross your mind to close our window? We always have a window open in our master bedroom. Or pull the patio furniture away from the house itself.
Can we interrupt for a minute?
We're gonna
Sure.
take just a quick break. Mr. Mayor?
So, I normally don't come to these things, but I know this is Joe's last meeting, and when the rest of you all have a last meeting, except for Loeffler, I'll come and do the same thing.
Okay.
Nicely done. Nicely.
One of the things that's really fun to do as the mayor is handing out the mayor's coin of excellence. And Joe, you have personified that well before when you were on this public safety committee and you were working your group down in Southwest.
Stand up for this.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were standing up.
Nice.
He wonders why there's a council member who wants to take him off. I might give him a second. The worst thing is it carries over to your wife. People hate you so much.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Joe, here's this, and we also have a gift for you. And look inside the Yeti cup.
Oh, Yeti.
Paris dance sang to me.
Oh, my goodness. Thanks, Chief.
That's where the president.
I want to bring Eric down for this as well.
Yeah, well,
Thanks, buddy.
these two guys have helped us a lot with our neighborhood watch program for quite a while, so that's probably one of the reasons I got in the committee to start with, so, thank you, guys.
You're welcome. Thank you, Joe.
Sorry, Nick, to take over your meeting for a minute. Sorry.
Hey.
Don't you have to leave? Don't you have somewhere to go?
I do.
Thanks, sir.
Congratulations, Joe.
Thanks.
Sorry about that, Chief.
That's all right. Let's just start over. Let's go back.
One more time.
Okay, so that 0 to 5 foot space from the house. You can go to the next slide, please. So once again, our Ready Set program. Is your home ready? And what does it take to harden your home? We've talked a lot about it, but if we really concentrate and we think of these embers, the ember cast, looking for a way to get inside your house. Another example, at my own house, my garage door, the floor to my garage had buckled up in the middle, leaving about a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch gap on both sides. I never worried about it much until mice started getting inside my house, so I fixed my garage floor, but in reality, who here doesn't have laundry that sits in front of your washer and dryer, a load of towels that sits there? That ember cast getting up underneath your garage door, getting inside your garage, looking for something combustible to start the fire. So when you look at an individual homeowner, what can we do prior to the fire and then the day of the fire? So this is prior to the fire, getting your home ready, part of that ready, set, go. Once again, the first 5 feet around your house. You look at your roof. For the most part, the days of shingle roofs are gone. But a lot of our roofs, even the tile roofs, were built in a previous fire code to where the caps are not airtight. So the embers can get up underneath the tiles themselves. The eaves are not enclosed. They look for gaps in the wood between your eaves, trying to find space for those embers to get in. Attic vents are a big thing. Mr. Brochure brought an example. They have all kinds of different attic vents that still allow for airflow in your attics, but keep the ember cast from getting inside. The freeway fire, which hit Yorba Linda back in early 2000s. Once again, a newer community, stucco siding, tile roofs, but as a previous fire code. The previous fire code had the holes in your attic vent, the requirement was a 1/4 inch. We kept looking back, seeing attic fires starting in these homes behind us because of those 1/4 inch gaps. The new fire code is 1/8 inch. So a lot of the homes here in San Clemente, especially the pre-existing homes, have attic vents that probably are not at that 1/8 inch. So can we go back and retrofit? And the individual homeowners changing out those attic vents to keep those attics clear of embers. Windows. There's a big thing on double pane windows for that radiant heat. Another thing that we'd look at, it's very expensive. And a lot of these things, when you look at getting your home, hardening your home, getting your home ready, they cost money. But what I want to really concentrate on are the things that don't. So when we go back and we look at older single pane windows that don't reflect that heat, or the vinyl windows, so what you see when you have a lot of radiant heat, those vinyl windows can literally melt the vinyl and the window comes right out. Now you have an entry into the home for all those embers. Or can we move combustibles further away from those windows so that you don't have that radiant heat up against a single pane or vinyl windows? Pull your patio furniture away from the house. The exterior of homes, a lot of what we see now are non-combustible, whether it's stucco siding or like my house, I have siding, but it's that concrete, made out of concrete siding now. Decks, enclosing your decks. My parents survived the Laguna fire in '93. They did lose a bathroom and a bedroom because it got up underneath their deck. It wasn't an enclosed deck. So all those embers coming from up underneath we stored all of our surfboards and all that kind of stuff underneath the deck, and that's how the fire got into our house. Fences. Most of us have wood fences around the house. Fences are usually more than 10 feet away from that house, but that 5 feet where the fence connects to the house, think about replacing just that piece of it to where it's non-combustible, so that if your fence catches on fire, it's not communicating to the house. And so you replace that 5 feet, that 0 to 5 feet once again. Trees and shrubs. So many of the trees that we see out there, whether it's palm trees, eucalyptus, those Italian cypress, they are everywhere. And as you saw in that first video on how those things burn. So being number aware, the other piece of it is, actually let's go to the next slide, I think we'll talk about it there. Is your yard ready? We talked about, for years and years and years, we've talked about fire-resistant plants, the importance to remove those. We see it every time we get these fires. Fences, trellises, play equipment, storage. Who here has a tough shed in their backyard, or one of those plastic ones from Home Depot that have gaps in it, and you store all kinds of stuff in there that you don't want in your garage? Keep those further away from the house if you have the ability to do that. Don't put them right up against the house. An RV or a boat, move that stuff outside of that 5 foot space. Usually we park it on the side of the house and it's very narrow. So you now have an RV or a boat with a boat cover on there that's a receptive fuel bed for those ember casts right up against your house. Trash cans we talked about. There's so many things that prior to the fire you can have in your mind. The other big thing that I want to discuss, let's see, I think it's on this slide, your rain gutters. We all clear our rain gutters once a year before the rainy season, but we never clear them before the wildfire season. So many of those rain gutters are made out of vinyl nowadays. Even if they are made out of aluminum or some of the nicer copper ones, they're full of dried leaves waiting for all those embers to land on your roof and start that fire up underneath inside your rain gutter, and that's going to take down your house. So there's so much that we can do. Some of it costs money, but so much of it is just there's a maintenance piece, and then thinking before, the day of the fire before you pull away from your house once you evacuate. So hardening that home, that's the biggest thing that I think we can make a difference. The next slide, please. So to finish up with our Ready, Set, Go program, getting set is once the fire has started. What do you need to do and plan ahead so you have this, but know your escape routes. There should be more than one way out of your neighborhood. Have a predetermined place. Not your whole family may not be home as you start to evacuate fires during a fire. So make sure that you have a place, whether it's a school or a friend's house or family or a church. Have that in place to where you and your family and your grandparents and your kids know where everyone's going to meet. There's 6 P's. Once again, this is kind of thinking ahead of time. But people and pets. Remember, a lot of people will leave their pets behind. And remember, when we do an evacuation in coordination with the sheriff department, it could be 1, 2, 3 days before you can come back. So before you leave, don't think of your cat and your dog. Try to get them in the car before you go. Papers, your important papers. Insurance papers is a big thing. Birth certificates, passports, all those things are difficult to replace. Your prescriptions, very rarely do people remember to grab their prescriptions. If you're going to be out of your house suddenly for 3+ days, or the people whose homes are affected by fire, you may not make it back to your house and be able to get prescriptions. So bring your prescriptions. Pictures are irreplaceable. And when you look back at a neighborhood that burned down, so much of that comes back nicer than it was before the fire. But pictures are irreplaceable. Another piece of the family pictures, family heirlooms, your wedding album, and then pictures, also artwork. Grab your artwork that's up on the walls, the stuff that's irreplaceable. Most of our pictures are on our computer now, so that's your 5th P, your PC. All your important documents are, for the most part, on that now. Grab your laptop. And then plastic is your credit cards and some money. so that you can rent your hotel for the night if you're going to be evacuated for a night. Next slide, please. Still on the set portion of it. So this is once the fire has started. When you haven't evacuated yet, the sheriff hasn't come through and done the evacuations. But a couple things to think about. Get your flammable items away from the exterior of the house. If you have a pool in the backyard, it's a great place to put your patio furniture. Your kids can get it out once you get back. Move all that stuff away from the house. Connect your garden hoses. It helps us. For instance, that trash can that was burning, if there was a garden hose right there, we can quickly extinguish some of these small fires without pulling out our larger hose out. But don't leave your water running. A lot of people think to put sprinklers on the roofs or turn on their front yard sprinklers. Don't leave all your water running, because if everyone does that, the system starts to get inundated and we start running out of pressure and volume. And prior to leaving, patrol your property, look for small fires. If you're starting to see small fires around your property, probably should be looking to get out. Indoors, shut your windows. I guarantee you your kids' windows are all open right now. Shut your windows. Move furniture away from the windows and shut off your air conditioners. All right, next slide. So that's the set. So ready is hardening your home and thinning your vegetation. Set is having your plan in place. And then go is to know when to go. And so many people, the coastal fire, I want to say 30 to 40% of those people did not evacuate. They chose to stay. And so what that does is that pulls our resources away from being able to protect property to we're going to protect lives first. So go early. Another example was we had a car that was completely packed. All their 6Ps were in it. It was ready to go. It was in the driveway. Fire was in the backyard. 2 fire engines pulled up, started pulling hose lines off, and that person decided that they wanted to go now. Our engines run away. You're going to shelter in place with us. So go early. Let us do our job. A piece on go to kind of steal some of Captain Benfield's thunder. The sheriff department has an outstanding evacuation plan in place. They will come through. Do not wait for them to tell you when to evacuate. Sometimes resources are thin. If it's a very fast-moving fire, it may be in your backyard before resources get there. The evacuation plan has been developed. OCFA and the sheriff department practice annually on these. Unfortunately, the last 3 years we've been able to practice on real fires quite a bit. Between the resources with the helicopter coming through on their speakers, sheriff's vehicles driving up and down. Don't wait for a knock on your front door. Sometimes there's not the time. They're going to come through down the streets with their PAs on. We actually had somebody call 911 to the fire department and said, hey, are we supposed to evacuate? And there's a sheriff knocking on my door saying I need to evacuate. And they call the fire department just to confirm they really need to evacuate. I don't trust the sheriffs either, but sometimes you need to.
It's a ploy.
Yeah. So don't wait too long. So many people did not evacuate. There's 12-year-old kids on e-bikes going down the street when there's fires burning on both sides. So that's a really frustrating piece, is the amount of people that ignore the evacuation orders. Once the sheriffs get up there and we kind of apply those together, but once that happens, so that's really the big thing. What I'd like to do, and when we set up have the ability to speak in front of some of the HOAs and the town hall meetings, if we can do that, we bring a lot of show and tell stuff. We bring a lot of handouts. A lot of good questions come out of that, but really the individual homeowner, your HOAs have done a good job. Your city has done a good job with their fuel modifications and the defensible space. But we're seeing time and time again that individual homeowners can make a difference, and we can save more of these homes that are burning. Some of the things cost money, attic vents, but so many of it is just a mindset on what to do before you leave and how to prepare your house. So that's kind of what I have. for you today. I'm available for questions, and really I think what my ask of this group is help me, and I know the mayor has already asked for it, and the city manager is already trying to put some sort of a town hall meeting together. We've done it in some of our other cities, and it's been received very well. But my ask of you would be the support to see how we can get a group of homeowners together and see if we can make a difference.
That's a great topic for neighborhood watch meetings. Really is. Well, I'll take a look for a topic to use. That's a great topic.
Now, on the coastal fire, you were the incident commander for operations, right?
Correct, for the first couple hours of it, yeah.
Got heavily involved in that one.
Yes.
Yes. After a fire like that, similar to an earthquake, it seems, how much public inquiry on what to do and how to do it, and when does it wane away? How many weeks does it take after the fire for the public to not care anymore?
I think we already are starting to see it wane. Okay, it's been a few weeks. Obviously, the sooner you do it before an incident or after an incident, you have more interest. Human nature, we forget about things pretty quickly, and a lot of this stuff can be inconvenient, and so how to get some of this education information in front of people is a challenge.
Right. My reason why I ask is that I've been fighting this disaster preparedness thing for decades, and especially earthquakes. When the big one or the one shakes, you got 2 weeks. People's attention's going out and buying preparedness stuff and all that. After that, they're back to putting food on the table and worrying about where the kids are and stuff like that.
Right.
Haven't quite found the key to get the public to engage heavily in this stuff, other than when it happens. And in the fire, it's too late.
And that's, it's hard. It's a challenge. We did a town hall meeting in Santa Margarita last week, and we had a pretty good show up. There was about 50 people. Remember, there's 50,000 people in Santa Margarita. So getting that out, getting the people that were there were very engaged, very interested, a lot of great questions, and we're going to change the way that they operate in their house. But that's the challenge, is getting people to be interested in it and how to sneak some of this education in with some of the other things.
That is absolutely the key, and still finding the key to do that, to keep people involved. And
Sure.
I think Neighborhood Watch is a great asset for doing that, because it's on the neighborhood by neighborhood basis, and we look forward to developing that further from the city. Okay.
We have a lot of information that we can share, a lot of handouts. It doesn't necessarily have to be a big presentation every time, but the other piece is if you go onto our website. Adam, can you go to the last slide? There you go. So there's the Ready, Set, Go OC at ocfa.org. And so there's two things. There's we offer a home assessment. It's a free home assessment, non-binding. We can come out and evaluate your home. We can look at the eaves. We can look at the vegetation. We can look at that 0 to 5 foot space. A lot of people are hesitant to do it because they think that we're out there, we're going to mandate them to do some changes, of which we do not. It's free and it's non-binding. We come out and we make an evaluation and give recommendations. Or you can go onto our website at ocfa.org, and there's a self-wonder where you can actually go through. It shows you pictures. You compare that to your house, and you can actually score your own house. But there is a tremendous amount of information on our website. So if we can't get people to sit down and look at the presentations, there's a ton of information on there. And but we would love to come out and evaluate people's homes and let you know what we think you could do to make a difference.
But where are we on the ordinance? I know the city is going to push for an ordinance to make it illegal to have propane tanks, firewood, charcoal grills, like in public places. Our mayor, where are we at in that process?
Have we had the first reading of that?
I don't know. I mean, I know it was brought up at a council meeting, and it sounded like a really good idea.
It was, okay, so I'm going to defer to Adam on this. A lot of what we were proposing already codified.
Yes. So what the council was discussing and wanted to direct staff to do was what's called summary abatement, where something's so dangerous that the government officials have the right to make a decision to go and deal with something immediately. And that's easier on private or public property than private. However, our code does allow for that to occur on private property. And a great example would be a pool barrier that's open and that a child could walk into. We would just go and just seal that up. We wouldn't ask questions. It needs to be addressed right now.
But
we can also remove flammable materials.
that was my objective.
Specifically, yeah.
Yes.
And to patrol for it, and it's one of the reasons why we've authorized this department to buy drones with thermal cameras to start identifying where these vagrants are camping out, because we need to get those flammables out of that area. But I do have a question for you, Rob, and I think we have all the players in here to talk about this just for a moment. So Kyle is the emergency manager in the event that an emergency is declared in the city. So it's good to ask this question. Should we be having, and I've always thought about this, should we be having tabletop exercises on what to do, whether it's a nuclear event, whether it's a fire event, whether it's even an active shooter event? I think we're missing the boat by not doing tabletop exercises.
Well, the sheriff just does continuously, I know, active shooter training.
Well, okay.
And then didn't we just have an exercise, an EOC exercise 2 months ago?
Yeah, so Jacob Green and Associates, the consultant that's doing the workforce now, they just did a tabletop for a lot of key city employees for 2 days, just kind of going over.
So there's a breakdown in communication because council doesn't know anything
Well,
about that.
we're gonna do more of these trainings going forward.
Yeah.
This is just the first one, and so we're gonna do more going forward.
And Kyle, could we do city-specific ones also? I know that's the general, but can we do city-specific ones also?
Yeah,
when we
I
get
don't
the
know how big we can get these things, but yeah, we're definitely gonna do more of them with different groups.
I'm kind of involved. Now, the key here is the city council, especially the city manager, must be involved in these things, because in other cities, they said, I don't have time for it, I'm too busy. And when it actually goes to a real activation, a real emergency, the city manager has no idea what's going on, or the city council, I'm taking over, throw the plan away, I'm going to dictate what's going on. No. You got this all planned out nicely. It works. It works on the tabletop, but you have to make sure that the governance people are involved in it and practice it. Without that,
So we've never taken it to that level. That's my point.
it's going to. It's going to. It has to. But they got to get their act together with Jacob Green, all the plans and all that, and then we get that good tabletop exercise together before it actually is needed, right, to the real one. So
Keep in mind, in 1961, when Walter Cronkite was interviewing
We'll tell you who Walter Cronkite is later. Just
President Eisenhower, who had just left office, and he goes, D-Day invasion. He said, what was the most important thing you had before the invasion? He said, a battle plan. And then he said, what was the least important thing you had on day one of the invasion? Our battle plan.
yeah, it's if you don't practice these plans, they're not a plan. So that's my experience. That's what
So
I
let's,
think.
you know, I think as we get into the new year and you write your, you know, your plan to present to council, I think you put in those tabletop exercises.
Amongst a whole bunch of other stuff, yeah, that are legitimate.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, you know, the talent's here. We just have to make sure it goes the right direction.
Right.
Right. Absolutely.
And we have all the players in the room to include emergency medical services, you know, everything that we need, and probably even involving Mission Hospital from an emergency perspective as well.
Well, and then you got the schools on top of that too.
Right. It just it keeps on building.
It just depends on how
I'm
big you
sorry,
are.
I'm still here.
You're good.
It's
I'll
all
get out
it's
of
all
this, I
good.
don't
Let's
get
get right on.
Well, the battalion chief will be part of this, probably.
Or even that.
I was going to say, wait a minute, when's that going to be?
So, yeah, it's that's what's exciting about this this committee for it. Get this stuff done. So
I'm out of here.
Oh, real quick, by the way, the young blonde woman that just walked in and sat down there, that's Amy Tollickson. She's a newly appointed member of the Public Safety Committee. She's currently a Orange County District Attorney. Should be able to bring some very valuable insight to a lot of our issues.
That's the hope.
Nick, I had a question for Rob there on his presentation. Yeah, I have a cabin in southwest Utah near Bryce Canyon, and this is the Left Fork fire. This was last week, and you mentioned people just, you know, they don't want to leave. When these things happen and it's close, and this has happened before to my cabin, and you have to evacuate. I mean, you get this sense of denial. It's just, it can't be happening. I can't believe these people. Since it's happened to me a couple times, you know, I don't get that quite so much. But the thing up there, they have this communication application on the internet called Everbridge. It's like an Amber Alert, but it's for emergencies, and they'll buzz me on this, they'll buzz me on my phone, and tell people, here's what's going on in your neighborhood. The other thing is, Utah has a fireinformation.com. You can get on there and you can see the fire, you can see the perimeter of the fire, and you can locate where your property is, where it's going, and tell me how many acres it burned, a little history, any injuries, and that kind of stuff. So in your presentation to whatever table topics or whatever, does California, does this county, does this city have that kind of information for the public?
So our big thing of which the sheriffs operate out of the county EOC is Alert OC. The drawback to it is you have to sign up for it.
Right.
I heard some stat from the sheriff up in Santa Margarita, I think. 10,000 people in Santa Margarita were signed up for it. 50,000 people live there. So that's the hard part, is getting people to sign up, and then as they move to update their information. But the Alert OC, I don't think anybody at the coastal fire was surprised by the fire. Between fire engines out front, police cars out front, the Duke helicopter with a loudspeaker, let alone the smoke and fire. Alert OC was going off. There's a lot of different messaging that comes out, but it does take some proactiveness as far as that the Alert OC to sign up for it. And you can sign up for different locations. So if you work in one spot, like I've signed up for all over my division, so I get alerted for anything around Instagram and internet. I mean, there's so much stuff going out. Nextdoor, what's it? The Nextdoor app.
Nextel.
San Clemente Life.
Yeah, there's a lot of
There's
a bunch of them.
Yeah. That's the one thing here in Orange County, and even updates. I mean, the media was absolutely. I mean, they were everywhere. The coastal fire, not only helicopters.
Yeah.
So you want to see the perimeters, and so that's the one thing that might be a little bit different than the rural, beautiful area where your other house is. If you want current video and updates on the fire, I mean, it was channel 247, and they even had national news had it on. So I think the information is out there, and then the county EOC and the city EOC, once they get out, Laguna Niguel's city EOC did a great job. Had a whole bunch of curveballs thrown at them, but they did a good job in getting that messaging. And really, where that messaging, the biggest piece of that that starts to create a lot of pressure on the city and on the sheriff is the repopulation. As soon as the smoke clears, everyone wants to go home. And so shrinking those evacuation zones quickly and messaging that and using Alert OC and how to get all that messaging out. City websites, city Twitter, I mean, there's so many avenues, but it's the repopulation that is a big pressure on the city. And, you know, like with the coastal fire, you had 20 homes that were burned out. You can't just open, there were still 80 homes on that street that were able to be occupied, and they want to go home. But you can't allow that to happen until you make those homes safe. So the city literally came in and fenced off every one of those homes just so that we could open up that street and make it safe and repopulate. But that's the messaging that's really important. When there's smoke in the air and there's all this stuff going on, but continuing that messaging, and that's where the county EOC and the city's EOC does a lot of that messaging and keeps it up. And Laguna Niguel did a great job with it, and the county did a great job with it.
Yeah, I don't think the public really thinks about or knows about, you know, bringing people back in after a fire. It's certainly, I've never thought of that part of the problem.
That's where more pressure
Yeah.
happens, right? Because as the fire department, we make recommendations on evacuations based on the rate that a fire is covering ground. Sheriffs are the ones that are responsible for evacuation and the repopulation, but making it safe. Just because there's no smoke doesn't mean it's safe, and that's where people start to lose their patience. Your dog was left at home, I don't have my credit cards, I don't have my prescriptions, and the sheriff won't let me back in. There's no smoke. That's those days after the fire, that's the hard part.
How does that OC system differ from like the Amber Alert system that I don't believe that I'm signed up for, but that we all get buzzed for? If you know.
I don't. My partner here can help me.
I don't know how Amber Alert is automatically sent to all cell phones at
It must be based tower-based or location-based?
Yeah, and some of the Alert OC is tower-based too, the wireless emergency alerts and the
I don't think I'm
alert
signed
system.
up for Amber Alerts, but
I don't know that you have to.
You
That's
don't have to
CHP.
sign up for it. Those
Yeah.
you can get.
So am I.
The generator, you're right, it's
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
Just like flash floods, because it knows.
Right, I don't know, so I don't know, OC might wanna look into something that isn't sign-up based, that's more geographically based on the cell
She's gonna
towers.
fill this chair pretty darn good.
Great item for neighborhood watch.
That's very good.
That's what I was hoping.
You're not even officially part of the committee, and you stumped me in your first question. I see how it's gonna go now.
We'll communicate before next time, so that doesn't happen.
Oh, by the way, for
Might be worth looking into.
those of you who don't know, is Chief Capobianco is the recent recipient of the Battalion Chief of the Year award, and you can see why it's well deserved. So we want to give Chief a hand there.
No,
Okay.
Division chief.
Oh, okay. Well,
I mean, they're all
Well,
chiefs. They're all chiefs.
What's
What
better?
about
A chief's a chief, right? I mean,
Battalion chief report to him.
oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Even better, the divisional
You say
chief.
what's better, a firefighter.
Well, yeah.
Way better.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just
He
ask.
wouldn't be in this meeting right now, would he?
Also, if we haven't introduced yet, is Bill Hanrahan.
Hanrahan.
Yes, good.
And don't want to leave him out. He's going to be a new member starting the first of the month, along with
Yeah.
Sini.
Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thanks, nice to be here.
What's your background?
I was a judge for 14 years and a prosecutor for almost 20.
Wow.
The judge part was iffy, but once I found out he was a prosecutor,
It was
we're
okay.
good to go.
Are you in Orange County?
What's that?
Orange County?
I've been in Orange County for a month.
Where were you before?
I was in San Francisco and prior to that in Wisconsin.
Wow. Well, welcome.
Good for
Welcome
you.
to San Clemente.
Yeah, it's part of the thing. All right, moving right along. Any more questions for the fire presentation? No?
No, that was great, yeah.
Okay, I have a presentation not to be upstaged by the mayor for Joe Janis. I'd like to read, if I may. This is from, on behalf of the members of the Public Safety Committee and staff, we applaud and commend your volunteer dedication to the community and citizens of San Clemente. For the last 24 months, and as a founding committee member, you enthusiastically worked to develop and carry out our established goal of enhancing the quality of life in San Clemente by evaluating the safety and security needs of our community. Having extensive experience as a veteran professional fire service officer, and in retirement, you selflessly answered the call to benefit our community as a technical expert and volunteer. You are further commended for your contributions and personal efforts toward the development of the citywide neighborhood watch and the homelessness and best management practices for public safety projects. As you have completed your committee term of office, we wish you well and thank you for your service as a member of the Public Safety Committee. And this is signed by everybody except Rod Malott, and I'm going to get him to sign this thing too.
Did Rick write that?
Yeah, I
Thank
Very
you
nice.
for all your help and stuff. It's been not only that, but community member. You run into these guys and
All the time.
it's
See a baseball game.
baseball games and all
Little league
that.
game. Grandkid game.
But we're still calling you about the neighborhood watch stuff.
So that's what I was going to say.
So that's a
It
done
didn't
deal.
go as quick as we wanted to go. With a lot of things that happened. But I'm still available at any time so we could still get this thing rolling. But I just couldn't commit to other things right now. So thank you all guys. It's been a pleasure.
You're still going to be block captain.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah, absolutely.
how he got involved in this thing as block captain for his area down on T Street.
Yeah, that's important. But, yeah.
Heavily involved. Thank you.
Am I formally done now?
No, last day of the month.
You don't get the certificate unless you stay.
I'll stay. Sometimes I see the councilman just walk out.
Only certain ones.
Only certain ones. Give him the boot, huh?
Well,
Gee.
thank you, that's very nice.
Oh, hey, you deserve every minute. Absolutely. All right, well, let's turn our attention to the minutes of the last meeting.
I move that we approve the minutes of the meeting of May 24th, 2022.
He makes all the motions.
Looking for a second?
Second?
Second.
Yay!
Hey, I
All
like
right,
it.
Joe.
Okay.
We're gonna miss you, Joe.
Discussion?
Discussion,
I have a discussion.
please.
Mr. Chairman, yeah. Item on page 3, item E, human trafficking project upgrade. It reads, committee member for noting this work item has been completed with the recommendations sent to the city council for the May 25th, 22 meeting. And that was very good. I mean, that was fantastic on massage parlors. Brenda and Alejandro were there. I really appreciate that. However, that did not finish the project. That finished priority 1. So I think I'd like to see priority 1 probably inserted in there that it was completed, because we're going to be talking about priorities 2 today and
Sure.
3 later on.
I'll amend my motion then to include Charlie's comments that we amend the minutes to state that it was priority 1 that was finished, and there still is an open part of the project.
I'll second that. Nice pickup, Charlie.
Good job.
Excellent.
All right, all in favor, raise a hand.
Aye.
I think we got a unanimous on that. Good. Okay. All right, now we're into oral and written communications. Okay, I've got members of the audience may address the commission on matters of public interest which pertain to the city or not otherwise on the agenda. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand and, after being called upon, if you desire, state your name and or city residence. For the record, to make your presentations, please limit your presentations to 3 minutes. That doesn't necessarily include the agenda item we have on homelessness, but I see some other participants here, and I want to make sure that they understand the rules. So, any
Just out of
reviews?
curiosity, are you here for business or
No, just public.
just participating to hear what's going on? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's see what they pay their big bucks for, you know.
Well, thank God
You've been
Chief
here
Capo
before.
Bianco did this presentation.
Actually, we're here to fulfill a Boy Scout requirement that you introduce yourself or not be introduced to the.
Oh, well, can the Boy Scout introduce himself? What rank are you? What's your name? I mean, that's your.
My name's Gino, and I'm from Troop 35.
Yeah, Laguna Beach,
And Laguna
actually.
Beach, yeah.
And what's your rank?
Star.
Hot dog. And how many more merit badges to the Eagle?
About 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how old are you now?
I'm 14.
Wow, you're getting close. I know you got three and a half years to go. Get that project done.
Yeah.
Of course, what do I know?
Do you have an e-bike?
No.
It's
Good for
still-
you. Good for you. You need a merit badge.
Well, congratulations, and if you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to help you out on this. But please observe what's going on because it's a lot of fun. Uh-oh, home week here. Home week. Okay. Any reviews or recommendations that we need to talk to about? None. All right. New business. Communications Disaster Preparedness Project update. The Public Works Director is here, Kyle. Can you fill us in on a little bit about that new contract?
Yeah, so it was supposed to go to council last meeting, but we adjourned until July 19th, so hopefully we'll get it approved at the next meeting. It'll be for a year with Jacob Green Associates. We did a 6-month pilot with them for the previous 6 months to see how they would do, and I was really happy with the job that they're doing, but we have a lot more to do, as you guys have figured out. The reason that I'm hiring them is basically because we had an environmental planner position and the person left about a year ago, actually about a year and a half ago. And so we get funding from Songs every year to pay for this position. The funding is actually going down, and it will over time, so I thought it was better just to bring in a consultant that we could kind of adjust as the funding is adjusted over time. But I think they do a really good job. They've done, in the first 6 months, they've done a couple of tabletop exercises. They've looked at our emergency operation plan and some other plans. They've looked at our EOC, and they're making some recommendations of how we can update that. There's just a lot that needs to be done. It needs to be updated, and so that's kind of where we're hitting the ground running.
But I understand that the Jacob Green, it's not their first rodeo doing this stuff, and they're very professional.
Yeah, a lot of them were military, ex-government employees. Jacob Green himself, I believe, was like an assistant city manager in a few different cities, so he kind of understands, the battles we're facing. They also do work for Dana Point and for San Juan Capistrano, so we thought, it's a good partner with those two cities and us. So.
How about the EOC facility itself? Did that ever get kind of organized?
Not yet.
We're still working on it.
They've been over there and they're kind of formulating a plan.
They're making a recommendation.
And I have funding, I can go and, clean some of the stuff out, buy some stuff that we need and kind of get it back in working order, but it's a work in progress.
Yeah. What do you need? Anything from us?
Just reports, that's it, yeah.
Okay, because that's one of our main projects is disaster preparedness and communications, and the EOC and getting that together and getting all the resources you need to pull that together is super important to us.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
Got to go on to the next thing.
Well, Adam, you sent us something from Orange County on how Orange County is addressing homelessness. How does that fit into what we're just talking about here? I didn't get a chance to read this yet, but.
That's the one I sent you.
Yeah,
I'll talk about it.
Are you going to talk about it?
Yeah, I haven't sent that to you.
Oh, okay.
However, you raise a good point. When there are emergency situations, there are a lot of people that need to be considered. I remember speaking to our previous emergency planning coordinator about this, and it's so long ago I don't really remember what they said. But if there's since we have a project on related to homelessness and law enforcement's best management practices for dealing with them, the committee could always ask for some information on how that population would be dealt with during an emergency situation.
No.
Okay. Any other questions for Kyle? Brought that subject up. Good. Okay, now we're down to the homelessness and best management practices for public safety personnel project update.
And yeah, I'll jump in on what Charlie was talking about, and I'm going to kind of combine this with the legislative review also. I had Adam send you on your city email a copy of the Orange County grand jury just came back with its report on how effectively we're handling homelessness. It's a 24-page document. It's kind of it's interesting. It's interesting in a couple of ways, but basically their recommendation is we need a spa in South Orange County. What a shock, huh? Yeah, and they were also a little critical of the spas that we have in Central and North Orange County, saying they probably aren't quite as effective as they need to be. What I did find interesting, and maybe you already know, they had a timeline of every city in Orange County to respond to this report, and the city of San Clemente was not on. It's the only city in Orange County.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I read the report. We were exempted here for
Yeah.
some reason. It didn't say why.
It's odd, but hey, yay. Anyway, basically, the good thing about it said we were failing basically everywhere, but what it did say, it kind of put the motivation on the county to actually make this happen as opposed to the individual cities, which is actually huge for us. I don't think the county's going to do anything, but I mean, it is huge for small cities that they put in the responsibility more on the county with state funds also. Yeah, it says we need a shelter. We need a shelter someplace, and it should be the county motivation. Another interesting thing about this is it recommended that cities band together, like San Juan and Dana Point and San Clemente, and chastised us for not doing this, when I know our city specifically reached out to San Juan and Dana Point interested in doing a tri-city program, and they didn't seem to be that excited about working with us. So I think maybe that's the reason they exempted us. Maybe they said, okay, San Clemente's really trying. So I don't know. But I think it is a really good thing that they have, kind of like I say, they put the most responsibility on the county. They have the resources and the funding, or at least access to the funding, to do something about the shelter, because we do need access to a shelter in South Orange County. Without an access to a shelter, we can't enforce any of the anti-camping laws against our local homeless, because unless we have a place to put them, then we just have to let them stay wherever it is. So, if you want to contact your council members or your board of supervisors, which is going to change here shortly, hopefully the new set of supervisors will be a little bit more responsive to the needs, and maybe we can get something done in that manner. So anyway, but it's worth reading. It is really, really interesting, and they did single out Be Well as being a really good, effective organization that's been doing a lot of work here in the city. They didn't mention FAM at all, and so anyway, read the document. It's really, really interesting, and I think that's.
And who authored the document?
The grand jury.
Oh, the grand jury. Okay.
Yeah, I guess they've been working on this they must have been working on this for a while. Yeah, it's a pretty specific or pretty in-depth project that they did. So
did they mention where funding is going to come from for these?
No, they actually, there's that shows what funding has been spent so far. outreach and mostly sheltering throughout the state, throughout the Orange County, and a little bit on outreach, mostly on shelters and follow up.
That's the real problem, is there's not money to do it.
Well,
I mean,
well, you know,
can we get state money or something?
well, in part, and it shows what state money we have gotten. I think when you read the document and see what they've spent money on, I think you might have the same opinion that maybe they haven't been spending the money as efficiently as possible. You know, I think they have some room for moving some money around and maybe getting more shelter space and then follow up also. What I did say though, what was interesting also, I'm glad I didn't forget about this, is they had a recommendation for shelters, and they say that shelters should have rules, but they shouldn't exclude drugs and alcohol from the shelter.
Oh,
Well, the grand jury said that?
Yes.
Perfect.
So, from my
How's that
experience, I would say that just putting a roof over drug addicts and drunks is not gonna, really suffice. But that,
Good luck, sheriffs.
yeah, really, yeah. There you go.
it might work around the legal issue, but not the problem.
Yeah, I mean, you can have dry shelters. I mean, Laguna Beach has one. But that was interesting. Maybe they were just figuring this would be the easiest way to get them somehow, get them through. But yeah, I don't know what the rules would be. Lights out at 10 and have to leave at 8. I mean, if you're allowing everything else, I don't know. But without sober people in them, it makes them really, really dysfunctional. So anyway, but yeah, like I said, read the document, share it with anybody you want. It's a public record. And it's very, very interesting. That's all I have on the homeless.
Okay, legislation.
I'm just combining that because it did come down that way. And this isn't a binding, this is just recommendation.
Sure.
There's nothing they can force anybody to
It
do.
comes from the Superior Court through the.
Yeah. But for San Clemente residents also, this is an interesting fact, the 9th District Judge David O. Carter, that's been administering all this, he's the one that cleared out the Santa Ana riverbed and then has held for the ACLU on certain rulings against cities that weren't, doing their fair share. But he has always said that for people who worry about a shelter here in town, he has always said that San Clemente is not a good location for a regional homeless shelter because we're too far away from services. We're too far away from hospital and any kind of follow up. And he has always said, and bless his heart, that it should be put on county property somewhere in the area, down here. And so that's good. So we'll see what happens.
Got any action item for us to recommend to the city council out of all this?
The council's it's kind of been put on the back burner, and that we've done, I think, pretty much as a city, we've explored most of the options, and as a city, we said we're not against formulating a shelter plan, but we just can't seem to get any traction. Certainly as a city, we don't have the money to go out and build a shelter on county property. But we've been in conversations with a lot. I know Eric has with the county and other cities here to try to formulate something, and it just seems like everybody really doesn't want to pull the pin on it, make it happen. So.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Joe, Neighborhood Watch Project.
You want me to do that?
Go ahead, and I'll give you maybe some information past that. Go ahead and give it up to now, though, for sure.
Yeah, the wrap up on this thing.
So let me explain to the new members where this has started. Our Neighborhood Watch program in San Clemente has kind of fallen off in the past 10 years, 15 years. I moved in a new area in T Street, and there was none. And we had great, biggest short-term lodging unit in the area, disrupting the neighborhood. And all the neighbors complained about it. And one lady said, well, I used to have a neighborhood watch, but I don't anymore. So I went around to, maybe 100 houses and dropped off flyers about having a meeting. And we did have a meeting, and it turned out to be pretty good. We've been doing it for 6-7 years now, and we have annual meetings, and it's great. We had good communications and everything. So we had thought, we need to rejuvenate this neighborhood watch program in the entire city. And so what we did, started out, we geographically made 7 different areas of the city. Easy, northwest, west, southwest, northeast, east, and southeast, along with Talaga. So there were 7 different districts. And within those districts, we divided up into basically about 20 areas where we could have a block captain to each one of those areas. Now, any place that had a HOA, that was pretty easy, that was going to be an area. So we did that, and then we talked to the Orange County Sheriffs, and we asked them to get a generic video for us. So when someone could go, if we advertise, say we rejuvenate this program, and all of a sudden they inundate the sheriff's department. Hey, I want to have a sheriff out here. I want to have a sheriff out here. All of a sudden we're going to say, wow, we can't get all these people out here. So we decided we'd get a generic video for a block captain to show to his people about it, and we could get information out that way. So we did, and so they're developing it right now. We hope it's done in a month or so. And then we're trying to get contacted the city to help us with a web page. We wrote up a neighborhood watch web page, and they put that in the motion. But there still needs to be a lot done with that. So when we advertise in the paper or on social media that the city is rejuvenating the neighborhood watch program, we'd like to be a block captain, he could easily go to the web page and he could say, this is what I have to do. We want to have forms, we want to have everything formed, and then we want to be able to stream that video into the house. So that's where we are right now. We got all the districts located. We want to advertise who wants to be a block captain. We also have a list of old block captains from before that we're ready to shove that out. But we have a few little things that need to be done before we do that. So that's about where we are right now.
And the city manager, son, I talked to him after a council meeting like a week ago or whenever it was, and I'm not going to say promised, I'll say he is committed to accessing the resources that we will need to get the web page up and going.
I think one of the frustrations that a lot of us have, Adam and these city guys, they're real busy. They seem to put more on their plates all the time. And then we have a bunch of these committees, and we come up with these bright ideas. And it's not our job to burn the fire department, the police department, or the city staffs. But then again, we only do so much stuff on our own. We can come up with stuff. So somehow we have to find some liaison in the city that we can do this with. So that's where we are right now with it. Good luck.
Good luck.
And also, as I talked to Rick, I've been involved with this quite a while, and I'm still going to be available anytime to.
Oh yes, you are. We're going to see this through to the end, Joe.
No, that was our plan. No doubt about it. So, anyhow.
Yes, thank you. Any more?
No.
You pretty well killed that one. Yeah.
I'm waiting for who's going to be my next partner on this.
That's true.
Next month. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Chair Bercuda,
Yes.
if I could just bring attention to the city's web page. This is our neighborhood watch page. Jennifer Savage sent out a link to this. If there's additional stuff that you would like, you just respond to Jennifer directly.
Okay, that was a question I had. I did write an email to her, and she checked with someone, but my suggestion that Rick and I could have got together with someone in the city and say, hey, this is where these things need to be going, and these are our ideas. How do we put this in there? And we were told that the city doesn't have a person to do that. So it's really difficult to try. We were also told to come to this committee and bring something up.
Yeah, her email was
and get them to vote on it. And I said, if we do it that way, it's going to take us another.
She was under the impression that Joe had gone rogue, and this wasn't coming out of the committee. I think because she said, "No, you've got to talk
That's
to
not an
her."
impression.
So anyhow,
what if I print out the page? Would you be able to just draw? We'd have you for another 4 days.
2 days.
2 days? We're running out of time.
Good luck.
On 4th of July, you'll be out there working on that page.
So,
Well, is Jennifer the one that does the content on the page?
She has access to this page and she can add stuff to it.
So she's the one,
Yeah.
but we can't
However-
meet with her.
But she'll delegate
That's right.
it to somebody.
We gotta come to the committee first.
I'm the one to do it, but you can't talk to me.
Get it
The
approved
way
by the
that
committee.
everybody gets stuff on these web pages is we either take a screenshot of it and we just add an arrow and say, add this here, or
Sorry,
we print it out, we write it.
In effect, it won't work.
I mean, really? That's how you add
That's the
content?
most- To me,
All
that
right,
was
then
the
why
most
don't
disappointing
we, why
thing that I
don't we
got.
meet,
How do you add a video
just meet
to
with
it?
me.
All right.
and, like, I will translate this.
All right.
I can't speak for Jennifer's schedule, but if it's.
That's
if
been
it's like mine-
recorded. That was Adam Atamian. Okay, just one.
Thank you.
These two guys will walk out.
Oh.
Just why don't we meet and I will
right.
facilitate this.
Okay.
Yes.
That sounds good.
Yeah. And,
Done
and
deal.
she's not an IT, so it's not like she can't
Well, that makes it easy.
she can't do every single thing.
Right. Well,
there
we
might
don't
be-
have an IT person in the
Yeah.
city anywhere?
No, we do, but they're just
But we're not
short
short
staffed.
staffed. Okay. All right.
Well, Justin, who you were working with on the maps, has left.
Yeah,
That
he
position
was
is
really
not-
helpful.
It has not been replaced yet.
Oh,
so,
Too bad. Yeah.
All right.
and I can tell you, IT is in the middle of a major project right now.
Yeah. Well, that's the
One
same.
that the planning commission is like very supportive of. Just FYI.
Who would that be? My wife's on the planning commission.
Oh, yeah.
We'll just clear it up right now.
I'm on that. I'm on
Yeah,
that.
that's-
I've got priorities, Rick. I'm sorry.
All right, and I know who takes priority. Same way it is at home.
All cities are fine that. You know, like Eoc, was that his name?
Yeah.
He was gonna be into it, and all of a sudden, he left. And then Justin left. So that's how it goes. And we work with that, but that's what's been frustrating, you know. We
I
get-
believe you. Say it's going to. We can do it. We'll do it. I
We
believe
will
you.
sit down. Friday's the 1st. Maybe sometime
Yeah,
tomorrow.
next week sometime.
Yeah, well, you know what, Joe? In 2 weeks, we'll send you a calendar.
All right, come on. You guys worked that out.
So how'd I do on that one?
That was good.
Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, sure. All right, here we go.
Okay, ready? Charlie,
My turn. Okay.
please. The Human Trafficking Project update.
Okay. I'm the newest guy on this committee, by the way, so I'm still trying to get, I'll never get to his level of
And
confidence.
he talks the most, but he'll keep you straight, I'll tell you that. See, I wasn't even at that last thing, I'm the one that seconded it.
Who gave it to you?
Okay.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
So whenever you want
I
to.
pulled that one together, Charlie.
Okay, well, yeah, let me give you a little background about human trafficking since there are some new people here. But I think it's back in February or March, one of the city councilmen, Christopher Duncan, basically tasked our committee here to look into human trafficking problem and make recommendations to the city council on what the city might do. Because at that point in time, there were a lot of the media was involved with human trafficking. San Juan Capistrano their city council was heavily involved in coming up with new regulations, ordinances, and whatnot to deal with human trafficking, particularly the kind of trafficking that goes on in massage parlors and hotels and that sort of thing. So Rick and I kind of took that on as committee members, made it one of our priority tasks. And with the help of the I-5 Freedom Network, in which Brenda Wells right here, and she'll be speaking of that. She's CEO of I-5 Freedom Network and has been working that for a long time. And then Alejandra Baker, is on her staff also, has been providing inputs on that. Just to make things quickly, we did come up with a number of items that we thought the city council could do based on a lot of research that we had done. Went to the city council a month before last, and believe it or not, it was our recommendations were accepted unanimously, not a single dissenting vote. Nick and I, he said he can't even remember when the city council ever was unanimous on anything. So this was quite an achievement. I want to thank you guys for all the help you gave us. But that wasn't the end of the problem. That was successful. That was priority number one that we came up with. But there are other things the city can do, and it'd be a little bit innovative, and that has to do with hotels, with place where people go to get their fingers. What do you?
Nail salon.
Yeah, nail shop. I used to make
Yeah.
that, and particularly hotels, because as we learned, a lot of this kind of trafficking goes on in hotels. It's just not, in massage parlors and other places and so forth. So we've kind of reoriented now to look at hotels. What can the city basically do to hotels, for our hotels to help them? Yeah, I think I'll turn this over to you, Brenda, if you want to say what you think some of the ideas are that we came up with, how the city can help motivate hotels to deal with human trafficking problem.
Do you have that thing up there?
Yeah, she
So by the way, your action that you took got some significant influential attention. The first place it showed up was in a national organization called Network No Relation, but we are partners, where they promoted they focused on how to eliminate the issue or address the issue in massage establishments in particular. This was put out in the San Clemente Times. It was found by this organization. They nationally posted cities doing good things. So you got that recognition. The other people that got the attention was San Juan Capistrano. So they're already trying to compete with you for the hotel piece. But just FYI, it's like it's a friendly rivalry here. They've been able to shut down 8 establishments with the ordinances that we recommended. So, they're not wasting any time trying to make this happen. So, in the meanwhile, priority 2 is how do we engage hotels, as our origin story was to train hotels on how to identify and report this kind of activity in that industry. As an industry, they are particularly reticent to accept any kind of training or anything like that. They're, especially now COVID, they have reasons to be overwhelmed, understaffed, under-resourced. So it's hard to get them to do something that's not required of them. To Charlie's point, an innovative idea that we were able to come up with is what's a better carrot than a stick for this? And so the city, they came up with the idea, what would city recognition look like if a hotel made a decision to go the extra mile? And if you want to I have a couple of samples there, I only brought a couple, but it's also what's on there. Go ahead. So these are 5 recommendations if a hotel were to choose to do these fairly low barriers of entry activities, verified by the city, leveraging the ordinances that were passed so that we can get them compliant. Then these things a hotel can do, and they can get a certificate. So the first one is so there's a law in California, unfunded mandate, however, that all hotels get trained on human trafficking. The fine print is it's 20 minutes every 2 years, and you have to have 50 employees, but we leave that out because that doesn't qualify any of our hotels in San Clemente. But it's SB 970, and that's the rule that they need to get training for that, so that they are compliant. They've trained their team and they renew it. That also signage is also a rule, SB 1193. This is a requirement that there is a poster in English plus the 2 next dominant languages for the culture, for the community, whatever it is, that it's up there, that has all the resources and the numbers. That is a requirement. If you don't have that in your lobby, it's $500. Second violation is $1,000. Hotels would rather pay the fine than have the poster up because it's not a good optic. The use of the hotel free cards. Now what that is something we created. It's a little business card that when you check into a hotel, everybody who checks in would get this. And we're rolling this out in a hotel in Lake Forest right now. We called it the Levi Project because Levi is a hotel GM who, this was his idea. After listening to one of our virtual education sessions that had a former victim and now survivor of trafficking, she said when she was going to these hotels, she just wanted somebody to pay attention to her. She said somebody would look me in the eye, somebody just asked me if I was okay, I probably would have tried to find a way to connect, but she was too terrified. She just didn't believe anybody was going to care. So between her and then we sat with Sergeant Stafford from the Vice Department, or Orange County Sheriff's Department, and those 3 stakeholders plus the I-5, we came together. What is a thing that's actionable? It's not 911. We want to make sure it was supported by the sheriff's department. That's why their voice was critical in there, that we didn't, do something that was outside their ability to respond. It needed to be something that was not going to put this victim in additional danger by doing something that was overzealous or overenthusiastic. We have to be really mindful of that. And also be something that the hotels wouldn't feel squeamish about putting out, making their other guests uncomfortable. So we created with this card. And I'll just pass it around because we have more on order, but I only have one with me right now. But it's essentially, what it says in here, free is how we want to feel. If you want help, feel free to connect with any associate. And so like if you get this card and you are potentially not just a trafficking victim, maybe, people go to hotels to do themselves harm. So suicide prevention is on here. The sheriff's non-emergency number is on here. And then there's on the back, there's a checklist of things that if you were going to see these, just check it and just give it to the hotel associate, which is another way to get some training in there because no leader worth their salt is going to pass these out unless they have their staff knowing exactly what to do with it when they get there. So that's this little tool that we came up with, just to put that in there. That's the hotel free card. And then agreeing to the reporting activity, taking a victim-centered approach, and that the business is consulted with the sheriff's department, has a relationship with them. That's an important part because we can't be everywhere, they can't be everywhere. So just being able to connect. So those would be the criteria that we set up, which is kind of basic. And then up here we have those who are all 5 would be eligible for. We've decided a plaque was a great idea, but that's durable. We want this to be renewable, so that more like a chamber certificate that's got a date that every 2, you can just get another one each time. That a yes or no criteria would be more objective than trying to assign a performance number. So is it yes or no? And then because we need, every 2 years it's renewable, it holds them more accountable. So this is the recommendation criteria that working with Rick and Charlie we came up with. Because we are the I-5, we have this affliction, everything has to be 5. 4 is not enough, 6 is too many, so we do that. But no, that's why we got 5, it's easy to count by 5, but that's where we are. But we're open to your insight, but this is where we are right now with this recommendation for priority number 2 of this action.
Yeah, we'd like to get some feedback from the group here. There was a 6th item, but basically, and Adam, where we want to show that they work with the sheriff department. We also want to put code compliance in that number 5 there because we want them to cooperate with you. We don't want them to think that that you're not involved in this because definitely we've got a lot of codes that apply to this particular topic.
That would be like 5, like A. So we don't have 6.
Who pays for the training and the signage?
It's unfunded, so the training we provide that through our donors, or there is a fee for service. And if they are saying they're unable to pay for the fee, then we have a waiver. We don't want them money to be the reason they can't do it. The other good thing about if they do this, we have survivors of trafficking that we've now developed into facilitators. They actually deliver the training. Very powerful result, and they are able to make a great impression.
And what about signage? Do you guys donate for that as well?
We have the PDF. It's just printing. We can give you one if you want more than that. And these cards, these free cards, I don't know where we're at. We'll pay for like the first set, and after that we can just give you the PDF, and you can get more.
Yeah, it's like somebody said, I can't remember. If you do something like this, it's better to use honey than vinegar or whatever. But she's talking to honey. The vinegar is that these hotels have to have a business license from the city of San Clemente. And there are business license authorities here that can deny their business license if they don't adhere to the codes. And he's one. He's a business license authority. Captain Enfield is also empowered by the city to do that. So there is some real teeth behind it. But we don't want to really, go in that way. We'd rather have them give them a positive incentive to be more aware of the problem here in San Clemente, what they can do about it.
Well, I like it. I'm partial, but I like it. I think it's simple, and to sell it to these people, since they're not legally bound to do it, it has to be something simple, and fairly easy to comply with, I think.
The codes, though, really do say that they have to comply with some of these codes.
Yeah,
and I think if legally you look through, I didn't get to talk to the city attorney about any of this stuff, but I think they have to comply. That's why, number 5 is
Well,
in
the
there.
required training, we.
Oh, the training, yeah, that's.
We can't compel them to do
No,
that, but if it's
that's-
something kind of
that's
simple,
true,
like they,
yeah.
I think.
How many hotels in town?
Well, that's up for debate.
How many massage
What do you call them, a
Yeah.
motel?
Yeah, so I would say there's about 12, did you come with this?
Yes.
There's about 12, like, everyone would agree this
Established.
follows the definition of a hotel. There are a handful of
No bad,
B&Bs
like
and hostels and, things like that, different criteria, like what's down there, the Pier Bowl, those hotels, if you have to walk through a lobby, those are variables in there, but at least 12 of the ones that we would all agree, hotel or motel definition.
The Orange County DA's office has a robust human trafficking unit. Have you guys been liaisoning with them?
Yeah, so we work with the Orange County Human Trafficking Task Force and the Sheriff's Department Vice does that stuff too.
And you want to stick with the bigger hotels because a lot of this happens when there's a big event of some sort going on in the city. So that's probably the highest, most important is the well-known hotels that can have hundreds of people there coming in from all parts of the country to celebrate a surf contest or Super Bowl or whatever.
But even easier than that, we coordinated with the same group of people, the same Levi Hotel, and the sheriff, we coordinated with what's known as a John Sting, where they set up an ad and they came through the hotel, and this one day, in working hours, this Lake Forest Hotel, so the majority of people came between 10 and 4. Like 20 ads, 20 people that came by. They were able to issue 19 citations. The owner of that hotel also owns another hotel in San Clemente. When the season is, not as busy, he's very excited. Everyone thought it was a really good benefit, to bring that to the hotels here, and it's really just an awareness for everybody how significant and how easy it was for this to happen. The other thing that happened, the other thing that's true is that even though the hotel staff in this particular hotel knew that this was happening, none of the ad respondents were identified in any way. Like you could just walk to the room and nobody would have known any wiser. And there's some best practices and policies there that can be suggested that would help mitigate that. But that's what makes it so easy for it to happen.
So to implement this priority, what's our process if we were in favor of doing that or recommending that we do that? Is that just something we send to City Council as part of our work plan? Is that we?
Yes, when this went back to the council, we had been talking about later in the next, in the next fiscal year, dialing these down and then going back to the council with anything that would require council direction. There's a number of these items that I don't think that we need council direction on. Ones like this, though, I'm not sure exactly what the best, who would be best to actually implement this.
I might make a recommendation that you call some of the hotel stakeholders, that are the GMZ owners, and invite them to the table and say, what would it take for you to be a part of this?
No, I mean, if city staff is going to be involved in this at all, I don't know what staff person would be best. Seems like this could be kind of wrapped up maybe in the business license renewal process, because that's required every year, but I don't really know. So
Could we agendize this for the July meeting, since that's the new fiscal year, and maybe you could come back with some?
This will be a standing item on the agenda until the next plan.
Okay.
So that's definitely something that can be talked about. This is a conversation that staff needs to have to figure out what our options are and what staff's recommendation would be. But the more, I'll say, private-public partnerships that we can get going, where maybe not everything is on city staff to implement, would be exceptional. Really,
Okay, well, since they're putting businesses consulted with the sheriffs, I think they're going to add San Clemente code or whatever they're going to put. We can't just send Brendan or people out to hotels handing this stuff out, can we?
No, I guess being on the spot I have no answer. That's what it is right now.
So
I don't know. This is not a code compliance thing.
Right.
I can tell you that.
Right.
It is so outside of our
Is
wheelhouse.
this a conversation I had with Eric to see, get some input from him, or I mean, I'm just.
Well, anything that would need to go back to the city council or that would need to get implemented through city staff from this committee, I will deal with. I need to do research and think through some of these implications.
Well, my feeling was, this is an award certificate. I originally wanted a plaque, at least a $50 plaque, but anyway, that was shot down. So now we're down to paper.
Who shot that down?
If you 5 years in a row, you get a plaque.
There you go. Okay, thank you.
The city will let you use their printer, maybe.
But that's the point. Gene James and Chris Duncan, I always felt they're the ones that were on the Human Trafficking Committee for the City Council. They should be the ones really who's behind and doing this with their staff. It's a certificate. It's, send out these particular criteria, let the hotel people know.
I think
that's where it belongs. It's not a code compliance issue at all. Because they wanted some new ideas on what we, the city, can do. They didn't want to, I don't think, want code compliance or other departments. They wanted the city council to be part of whatever it was we came up with to address this topic. So that's what I would.
Here's just a.
So one of us would go up to the city council. Well, I don't know.
So we also have an economic development officer in the city. This could very well tie into some of the promotional things that they tend to be involved in. Why don't we do this? Why don't for the next meeting, I put together some options of who would be the ones to carry this out, and we can kind of start with that. There's a lot of positions in the city. Let me just put some thought to it and get some feedback from those who may be able to assist.
Can I throw something into that?
Absolutely.
In that mix, this private-public partnership type thing might work out well if we involve the Chamber of Commerce.
I don't disagree.
Because they want to enhance businesses in the community and blah, blah, blah. Okay, this is could be a plus for them too, and especially if the hotels are part of the Chamber of Commerce.
The next slide, by the way, has a sample language we might put there. Whatever they make the hotel feel honored, Put this Chamber of Commerce on there, for example.
Yeah, you just put those logos all over this thing, and you get the Sheriff's Department logo, Fire Department logo.
Well, I can talk to the president of the Chamber of Commerce. It'd be interesting to see how many hotels are actually members of the chamber. And they might all be.
And that might be a good entity to bring them to the table to find out how would this be beneficial to them.
Well, I can certainly do that.
So we don't limit it to just the city and us and you guys. I mean, you got to have a consensus. So it looks like, wow, there's a bunch of people here.
You put the sheriff on there?
Put his name on everything.
Put him on there.
Put his picture.
We put marine safety as along with it too.
Because he's not here.
Yeah, he can't defend himself,
Ron Malat's on the subcommittee now.
So anyway, okay.
No, that's a great idea. And by the way, just to let everybody know, when we started the subcommittee and Charlie and Chris Duncan and I went to meet with Brenda, I don't think we would have come up with so many good answers so quickly if Brenda wasn't part of it, because none of us had any idea. I might not be speaking for you, but I had no idea how to address this issue. And Brenda pretty much just laid it out. Here's how it needs to be done. So that was very, very helpful, or we'd still be kicking this around. This would take longer than the neighborhood watch.
Can't help you there.
So thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments on
Maybe we need a woman on it for us.
I think so.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Get something done.
Exactly.
I think we need
now we've taken care of that problem.
We need to clarify the action. Okay, we're on priority 2. We cleared that up. Is that correct? And,
We are, yeah, I would say.
and are we waiting for Adam to come back with some ideas the next meeting on who would be
How to implement this.
implement this, yeah. It'd be a city and a public kind of coordination or.
My goal was to, instead of spitballing ideas here without complete information, let me do some research, come up with something that can at least inform a discussion that is more likely to result in.
Okay, no, that's a good idea. All right.
Okay, good. So far?
I think so. And Alejandra, you did a heck of a good job too and everything. We really appreciate your help.
Thank you.
On this. And stick with us as we'll get through.
I'm not leaving.
But in 5 minutes.
Well, right now we're saying, but
Yeah.
I have to leave.
So wait, so you are leaving?
Leaving the room, not leaving you.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. Just right now.
And you might jot down the 4th Tuesday in July if you're around too when this comes back. Maybe you want to.
For Tuesday in July,
Yeah, at 3 o'clock, maybe. Yeah, when this comes back, maybe we'll
we'll be here
be able to
if needed.
figure out how many copies you have to make of whatever.
I showed this to Charlie. We're building a kind of a marketing outreach brochure. I just got this before I knew what it was going to feel like. So this is just going to have our information about getting training, a statement from a survivor of trafficking, being straight in a hotel, information about why the hotel is and what I want to buy. So it's just like a little kit. So when you go, it's a thing that, and it will include, a few of those free cards. And so we're working on this. It should be ready by the time. See, this is the branding from the
I think about the title there,
Yeah.
I have to see them.
I just want you to do this.
Yeah, wait, I'm going, that's a bad message.
That's not how we do it.
This is for the massage stuff.
What are you trying to exactly?
Enough of that.
I'm glad the 14-year-old is not here.
Jeez.
For Tuesday.
You need to quit the tree.
All right. Okay, I'm losing control. Yeah. Okay, traffic and e-bike safety project.
All right, couple of
Please.
things on this. First of all, the San Clemente Times ran a thing, page ad about bicycle safety and all that kind of it, which is really good. On the other side of it, we did have a e-bike fatality 2 weeks ago.
No.
Well, yeah.
Where?
At Hermosa, or La Plata and Pico. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was, I don't know if you have any further information. It was a vehicle versus an e-bike. Was it like at 1 a.m. or something?
Somewhere around midnight, I think.
Somewhere around
maybe
midnight.
11-ish.
It's hard. Yeah, more information will probably have to come out. It was a hit and run, basically. Guy got exploded. It was probably both vehicles going full speed. I mean, looked like, yeah.
That doesn't sound like fun.
No, it probably wasn't. But anyway, they don't. Now, they have the vehicle. Did they ever get the suspect?
They're working towards, I think the department has a suspect in mind. They're working towards cleaning up that investigation with some additional warrants and stuff that they're working, but no one's been taken into custody, no one's been interviewed, anything like that. They're still piecing it together.
And the investigation of the actual accident.
Was the victim an adult though?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, that late at night, yeah.
So
Probably drunk, yeah.
we'll see.
Not the good counts of bikes at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, whether e-bike, being an e-bike was a component, I mean, whether you had lights on or not, or whether who, broke the law or what, we don't know at this time. But anyway, it was a fatality. The other thing that's very exciting as far as the beach trail, the prohibition on the beach trail, is Rob Malot's been consistently doing education, stopping people and talking to them. And I know the sheriffs have conducted one, is it 2 by now?
It's one focused event that was going to be enforcement.
That was on
because the official signs weren't up.
3rd or 4th or something?
Yeah.
Okay, then they stopped people and chatted and told them that, the bikes were prohibited, and we're waiting for the signs to go up, which now I think the signs have been posted. And I had one question about the signs, though. Don't they, when you prohibit something, don't they have to have the city municipal code on there?
No.
Yeah,
You don't have to-
Speed limits don't have.
No, but I
That's the
mean,
municipal code.
I mean,
yeah.
yeah,
Because the no
I mean,
trespassing.
some cities do make you put the municipal code section on there.
I'm sorry, on what sign are you referring?
The e-bikes on the beach trail. they're on there and it says they're prohibited. But if it's not required, then we don't need it. I know some cities require you can't cite unless there's a municipal code. Besides, that's a vehicle code. You don't have to have those. But if you have municipal codes, a lot of cities require that you put the code section you're violating on there. If that's not a requirement, then it's no big deal.
Yeah, and I'll say our past practice is that we would always have.
So if you guys had the municipal code, you wouldn't have a problem with writing a ticket, as far as you know.
Yeah, as far as I know.
Okay, well then let's leave it like that.
Yeah, if there's a requirement that the city posts the code, then those signs would have to be amended for that.
Yeah, I don't know that that's the case.
I'll follow up.
I'm thinking ahead when people start taking these tickets to court.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's all. So that's a really good thing. The signs are up. The Sheriff's Department's already conducted a educational, and I think sometime into the summer, you and Rob are going to kind of try to coordinate something, maybe.
Yep. Another event down there. We're just waiting for the signs to go up.
The thing is Rod has said that he's seen a substantial decrease in the number of bikes, not only on the trail, but in the beach area and Pier Bowl area. I know people have been complaining on social media, there's still e-bikes buzzing around, and I just write back, dude, there's people buzzing down the freeway. You're never going to stop it all, but all you can try to do is improve it. So I think this project has gone well, and we've seen some good progress, and I think that's about it.
So I guess you're a prosecutor, where you said?
Yeah.
When we have a law like this, or an ordinance anyway, and somebody did take an e-bike down there and they hit somebody and there was a lawsuit, does that put them in more liability in a situation like that than if we didn't have an ordinance?
It's one more brick in the wall.
Yeah.
That you have to show that the person had a duty of care and that they breached that duty of care in a civil suit. And if there's a sign that says, "Thou shalt not ride e-bikes on the path," that's one thing. The speed, I imagine, is another thing, and just general carelessness. Those would all be weighed up.
That's a pretty serious thing, man.
Amy, is any other...
It could be a negligence per se, too. I'm not
Any
familiar
knowledge
with
of
the
danger is
laws.
gonna help. I mean, I don't think either one of us have a civil background in that, but.
Well, I presided over
Yeah. So
personal
anytime
injury
you're-
cases. It would
Knowledge,
be a
knowledge.
factor.
Do you know if any cities offhand in Orange County have done aggressive enforcement on e-bikes? I know like Huntington Beach on the bike trail or something, but I just wonder if it's come up as far as...
Not to sound pretentious, but I haven't prosecuted at that level in a long time.
Yeah,
I have to
that would be a city attorney, right?
It would, depending on if it's a misdemeanor, it would still be, most of the cities around here contract with the DAs for their misdemeanors.
Right, okay.
But I just don't.
We have our own city attorney though, don't we?
Okay, so we're talking about citing a misdemeanor for a municipal code.
No, I'm just talking about the infraction. Just the
You
municipal...
can have a misdemeanor on a municipal code.
That's what the deputies cite. They rarely cite an infraction. Those tickets do not ever go to the DA. Unless it's with certain exceptions. The reason they don't is because we've learned that the DA doesn't do anything with our tickets. So in code compliance, we have a legal counsel, a firm called Silver and Wright. They specialize in code enforcement. We have a retainer with them, and they prosecute all of the deputies, and code and park rangers.
Yeah, Matt Silver.
Yeah,
He'd be happy. He likes prosecuting though. He probably would.
they are prosecutors.
Yeah, they are. He's a good
They
dude.
live for this.
Okay.
So that's how it currently is, but that doesn't mean that's the only option. It's just that's what we found to be relatively successful.
That would be a very good way to go about it.
Yeah.
Other cities do that. When I was prosecuting at that level, San Clemente didn't at the time. But
Yeah. And for certain kinds of violations, it really helps to have like our own local advocate for issues. And I don't want to get into topics, but for issues that are, say, countywide, having the DA deal with it, it's just a problem is a problem is a problem. Here, it's Matt Silver is fighting. Like it doesn't matter whether San Juan or Dana Point has the same problem. It's not going to be our problem. So that's another reason why we like that.
No, sounds good. Well, we'll just burn that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah, I'll put a note down. Follow up on that later.
Still committee consensus that my 12-year-old should not have an e-bike, right? He's fighting me on it. But I'm holding strong.
With some real heavy restrictions on
He
that
can't
sucker.
even barely handle a bike. So
Well, then I'd say no. Because 28 miles an hour with a throttle is not going to be helpful for that.
I understand it.
That depends on his maturity
Yeah.
and so forth. I have a 12-year-old grandson, and I'm building a e-bike. And, yeah,
Because 28 miles an hour isn't fast enough.
no, 750, well, probably a 500 watt-hour bike or something like it. It's not going to be a high speed.
Well, you will be a popular grandpa.
Okay.
I am.
So my wife is the
Until
nurse
something
manager at Mission Hospital Emergency Department, and she says that's the leading cause of injuries to adolescents.
Interesting.
E-bikes.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
It's keeping them
Overtaking
busy.
trampolines.
Yeah, really.
Speaking of that, Chief, any besides this fatality, anything that you can come up with on the EMS end of it?
The numbers are skyrocketing, I can say that much.
Not only here, but other places too, I'll bet.
Yeah.
Summer's
There was
coming.
3 in one day, 3 accidents in one day, e-bike accidents,
Wow.
last week, I want to say.
Mm.
So, I mean, we're both seeing the numbers go up.
Yeah.
I heard Fire had developed a e-bike accident response kit, similar to like an overdose kit. The engines have them now because it's stuck on them. My neighbor was telling me that they have that response kit on their engine now.
I would think that would just be like any other trauma kit.
But, I mean, it's whatever, it's at the ready because they're so.
We haven't done that. We just have our trauma bags that.
You could rename those.
Yeah, e-bike bags.
I just retired.
Tony,
You got time now,
anything that comes regarding e-bikes and injuries and stuff, other than the fatality that you're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, e-bike accidents happen with some frequency. Fortunately, most of the injuries are relatively minor. Most people don't even seek medical treatment. Like Rob was saying, last week we had a couple with juveniles that went to the hospital, I think more as a precaution or minor injuries and facial like scrapes and cuts, this sort of thing. But yeah, it occurs with some frequency.
Any thoughts of future rodeos or educational things?
The last one we just did a couple weeks ago seemed like a pretty good success, or a good turnout. The people that came seemed to have a lot of fun.
Good.
Our crew and the city put a lot of work into like the design and layout of the different events that they would have. So, we hope that it was informative and gave away some helmets. Some people from Mission were there. Nurses came down with helmets and war stories, and we thought it was good. That's something that we'll continue to do periodically.
Was that the one at Vista?
And then they had done one a couple months ago specifically for a school, and they did it for like a school-age audience and auditorium. Maybe just like a smaller version. But yeah, I think we'll continue to do those here and there.
Good.
Yeah, I went down there and just check it out. There were a couple of deputies down there really involved, really helping. And then there was the reserve, what are they?
Senior volunteer.
Senior volunteer crew was down there, and they were doing an awful lot. And they really related well to the moms and the kids. I mean, they had like a miniature arm that goes down at a railroad track, and they teach the kids, look both ways. It was just really nice. It was good. The more we have of those, the better, I think. Excellent.
Pretty good. Okay, good. On the signs on the beach trail, thank you, Cale, he was in charge of physically tacking those dudes on.
Well, that's very impressive.
Now, who designed them?
I don't know.
Okay.
I know maintenance staff was talking to, I don't know, it might have been someone in Adam's office about it. I'm not sure.
Or it could have been Parks and Rec.
Yeah, that might
You know.
be Samantha might have had something to do with it.
They look good though, because they look real professional. They didn't, sometimes beach cities put like a seagull in the sun. And it's like this touchy-feely, but this looked like they really want you to follow them. That's good.
Well, those signs, we have a city wayfinding sign program, so they tend to follow that design. But yeah, between between Public Works Maintenance and BPR. And then they'll once in a while they'll run the sign past me, but it's really those two groups that are.
Well, the question is, running it by it is to see if that code had to be on there, and how did it slip by if it had to be on there? We don't know.
Well, I'm not sure it slipped by. I was just, some cities have
No, but
requirements.
that's
Yeah, I mean,
a
I don't
good
know.
question. Though.
Yeah.
So our general practice is to put municipal codes on every sign possible. So I will look into that and make sure that
For the future.
I'll look into it and make sure that it is done as required.
Yeah, for the future is what's the procedure? Who sees the artwork before it gets finalized?
Depends on the sign.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got the city has internal review teams,
All right.
depending on the type of project. So it's, signs are all there. The city makes a lot of signs. Not all require municipal codes.
Yeah, because those are expensive signs.
Adam, who would that person contact if there's some graffiti on a sign or it's been destroyed or something like that? Who should they contact? Pardon?
Public Works.
Public Works? Okay. Yeah.
You're looking at them.
Well, I haven't seen the sign yet, but I got a feeling, they
Well,
might
it's
be
about-
But
very
they're
attractive.
graffiti resistant, the coating they put on, aren't they? Don't they spray that orange stuff on there and
But after
comes
you
on?
wipe it off about 10 times.
The sign's gone.
It's
Yeah.
always a better paint that shit or whatnot.
Thank you very much.
There's always a way around it.
Good.
All right, now our next little item is a kind of new business. Is that consideration for recommendation to the city council to utilize space at the city yard to provide a location for emergency food storage. Now, last month we talked about that project on there, and I want to make sure that the city council has an open door to them if it's good. Are you still with us on?
Yeah, I actually went out there this morning, and there's a couple of spaces we can put a storage building, run power to it, whatever's needed.
Yeah.
I assume the group that we heard from last month, they would actually fund this, or would the city have to fund it, or?
Well, they're not. It's the county right now that's doing 5 of them as a test type thing. So we've got to. What we're talking about is food insecurity for the citizens. Not
If an emergency happened, a
Yeah.
refrigerated storage container thing.
So anyway.
Yeah, we have a location at the
Okay.
reclamation plant. I think we worked on.
So I think the idea here is that we recommend to the city council that we leave the door open for an invitation, for them. Not saying we will have it, type thing, because we don't know what the costs are and all the logistics and everything else. I think that's what we're looking at, right?
They have the grant from
Yes.
the county, the $2 million grant to do it.
What they had requested at the last meeting was potential sites.
Mm-hmm.
Could be looked into, and I think the committee at this point just wants to support that idea. I will say it's tailored to the city yard at 380 Avenue to Pico.
Thank you. Can you handle some of that paperwork rather than? I mean,
What do you
so
mean?
it'd have to go to the city council to say, hey, this is a project that we think from
This is
our
just a
committee.
recommendation that the city
Yes.
remain open in
I-
case we were recruited for a space, right? Is that?
I know it's gonna.
Hold on, Rebecca's gonna write a staff report.
This is going. This most likely, I think this would be a good item for a committee report at the end of the. I think it's now at the end of part 1 of the business meeting. But we could just put together a memo essentially and just say the committee took action on recommending that the council look into this, and then that puts the ball in their court and they can decide.
Great.
How formal?
If we don't recommend it, we can go talk to city council.
Yeah.
I had to leave it that way.
Thank you.
Even with that one. Thank you.
Hey, I still got 3 strong supporters.
All you gotta do is
how that works out.
Count to three.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's really why they had to cancel that last council meeting.
All right.
Numbers are not
So,
looking good.
can we, with the committee action, just take a vote on that?
Yeah.
Can you repeat? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Somebody in staff is going to write up a report to the city council saying that we support or recommend that they support the use of the city yard as one of these food things if we are recruited to do so, if requested
If
to do
it's
so.
offered.
If offered, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's your motion then? Sound like a motion to me.
Do I have to make a motion or is?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to make a formal recommendation to council, then it would be a motion. If the committee
Just wants to make this report.
just set all of you say that you support this idea, then staff would reiterate it to the council at some point in the future. But it wouldn't be
Were we requested to do this? Is that what
you guys agendize this.
Oh, we agenda.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think
a report's good, don't you? Or what do you think?
I think a recommendation
Okay.
would be
Yeah,
better.
that's what we're here
That's
for.
a little more.
Okay. Well, that's.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a grant for this, is that what you're saying?
We don't have it. This is a third party that is looking for
Yeah.
spaces in cities to put these.
Another
But,
part, okay.
yeah, we don't have to pay for it. We just have to supply the space if they want to do it. If that's,
Yeah.
and they came and kind of did us.
There would be some cost if we had the
Level us
utilities
up,
hooked up to the thing, but it's supposed to be self-sufficient with the solar and onboard freezer capacity.
And this organization's gonna manage the thing and everything else?
Yeah, we don't do anything.
Well, it's their property, and the way it's presented. The county has given them a grant to put this thing together, and they're looking for 5 locations countywide, decentralized. But if it takes off,
And they've been using schools and whatever, so the odds are that, I mean, they might not ever even need our space. They're just looking for possible locations. So,
and we're at the south
Farther
end of the
south,
world,
yeah.
so gives us a.
If we're gonna make a motion, then we probably should put in the organization that has this.
the name of
Yeah,
this
the name of it,
organization.
so.
Yeah,
The Bound Food
Bound
Care. Yeah. It's
So
in
so what we want to do is
Simple
approve the use of the city yard at such and such a location for a emergency food storage by this,
a Bound
by
Food
this
Care.
organization, yeah.
It's basically not item 4 in
Yeah.
last month's minutes. It's all there.
Okay.
Okay?
Well,
So a motion
Okay.
would, I would add some additional language that the motion is to forward a recommendation to the city council to consider potential sites at the city's yard located at 380 Avenida La Plata for Bound Food Care, Bound Food Care's future potential locating of an emergency food storage unit.
I'll make the motion with that wording. I want to say it again.
And I'll second it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye. Good, yeah.
You're still active, you see.
Like I said, I voted against it.
His hand is like goes up here. It's
I
not-
know.
it-
I know,
pretty
man.
soon it'll be
He's
like
ready.
What is Rick doing talking to the council about this?
that. Okay, moving along.
Okay.
Any unfinished business that we know of? No?
No.
Okay.
What about those, what do they call them? The automated automobile license plate readers or whatever, I know that.
Flock.
Huh?
Flock.
Yeah, flock cameras.
Flock is a company that makes them, yeah, but the acronym is
ALPR.
Automated License Plate Readers.
It's a license plate reader.
Yeah, we've been held up on that for a couple of years now.
You've noticed.
I mean, supposedly it's.
It was approved in the fiscal year 2022's budget. And so it's been, technically, we've had the money for less than 1 year.
Yeah, but I heard it was renegotiated, competed
Rebid it
for, but the same company got the same follow-on contract. And at the last meeting, I believe, it was imminent that we were going to have, we talked about the quantities and everything. Gee,
It's on my list of things to talk about.
oh,
Thank
okay,
you.
well, we'll wait. Yeah.
So, let's see. The next agenda item is police services.
Gee, nothing to report. As you guys know, the last council meeting was supposed to be the second reading of the catalytic converter ordinance, and that meeting was canceled.
Got
or
canceled.
postponed.
July 19th.
So we'll push that off for a month and see how it goes there for the second meeting, and then I think it's 30 days after that when it actually becomes an ordinance.
Oh.
If it's
Um,
if there's no objection.
No, you're right. There, I'm already starting to forget all the most recent ordinances. The catalytic converter one was on for introduction,
Oh,
so it then wouldn't have been.
That's the first reading then.
Yeah, so it'll be the first reading July 19th, then
okay.
second reading
2 weeks later.
The
I thought I read
first
somewhere
meeting
the
in
second
August.
meeting,
I think
was
it's
just a
still on.
typo.
So then we're talking like beginning of September that
Okay.
would go into effect.
If you guys didn't know, there was a little rally or demonstration today at Del Mar and ECR reference the Supreme Court ruling on Roe v. Wade. It was like 40 people, and they were peaceful. They stayed on the sidewalk. They did their thing, which is exactly what we like to see. So no involvement from us.
What side were they on?
They were right in front of the old City Hall, the historic
Okay,
City Hall building.
but as far as a pro-life or,
No, they're pro-choice.
They were pro-choice, yeah.
okay, all right.
There was one counter-protester, but again, stayed well within his rights and then left shortly thereafter.
Okay.
So no issues there. Flock, the contract has been signed by the city, and it is back in the hands of Flock. They actually hit me up today. They wanted to have a couple clarifications about camera locations, center median versus shoulder of the roadway, and then that went back to them today. So I think they're in the process now. They're probably in that 6 to 8 week lead time from actually installing, which is when they do some of their fine tuning. Of locations, installs, getting any necessary permissions from, say, Caltrans if one were to go on their property or something to that effect. And then, so hopefully we're within a 2-month time frame or thereabouts of getting this put in.
Did he try
That's
and
the
sell
first
you?
phase.
Did he try and sell you on any other features with that system?
No,
Did you mention them?
no, we went through initially and looked at kind of what they offer and what the city would be interested in, and they agreed to a 2-phase contract. I think it's 15 cameras each time, so it will be ultimately 30 cameras.
Are these stationary cameras or are these mobile?
They are stationary and they're just license plate reader cameras, so a lot of times people will confuse them with like surveillance cameras. They are not that, but they will pick up license plates as the vehicle drives by.
So if somebody runs a red light, is that a red light camera?
No.
Definitely not that.
These are more just to catch, depending on where you put them, but to catch license plates. It's an investigative tool. It will alert us immediately if there's a stolen vehicle, if that license plate is on there. But we use it generally for creating leads after a crime has been committed. You start checking cars that are leaving and try to develop a
It'd be
lead.
nice to have them in the squad, so when you do the human trafficking patrols at hotel parking lots,
Yeah.
have a lot of open warrants and things.
And we do have an ALPR equipped vehicle, and that's predominantly for alerts related to the plate, if the person's a wanted subject, or if it's a stolen vehicle. They'll drive through and pick up plates. It just runs on the whole time. So that's the update on Flock. It's still out there, but I think we're making progress. And aside from that, we are just gearing up for 4th of July. So I'm excited for that. Yeah. Should be fun.
Got it. Any questions for our law enforcement?
A lot of fireworks going off already at the beaches.
That's what I keep hearing, yeah.
Yeah. So we can't do it. It seems.
It's a funny point that I think a lot of the public isn't aware of. Really, why would they be? For us to have a case on somebody for, obviously there's in the city, possession of any firework is illegal, right? Detonating something is illegal. But what that means to like the DA is physical proof that they were in possession. So it's easier if I stop you and you've got them in your trunk, right? If we get a call that we see fireworks on one street over and we go and there's crowds on both sides and there's fireworks in the middle, I can't charge anybody with that unless somebody's silly enough to admit that that's all mine, which we don't get. So we find on 4th of July, actually a couple weeks before and maybe a month or two afterwards, we do a lot of cleanup. We roll around to calls for service and we take whatever's left in the street. But it's very hard to generate a single citation out of that. And I think the public gets frustrated, rightly so, because they're tired of hearing these things. But it's a very difficult thing to prove who did it. So sometimes you'll have neighbors that will want to say, it's my neighbor, I saw him with all sign or whatever, but that's the rare exception.
Yeah.
How about a citizen's arrest?
Right, exactly. So we don't get a lot of those.
Oh, no. It's swell.
Yeah.
Rob? Anything on the fire thing?
Gentlemen, I'm going to step out real quick. I'm going to try to run to briefing before they
Oh, yeah.
go into the field.
Thank you.
That is a matter of opinion.
Well, apparently you are.
Toast.
Thanks.
Man. Thank you, Tony.
Thanks for coming.
Of course.
Leaving early.
Nice seeing you.
You professionals.
So, new fire engine is put in service at Station 60. To get a new fire engine is about a 2-year process. The build itself, once you pay the bill, the build itself is 400 days now, without the COVID delays. So, engine 60 went in service. It's about $700,000 now for a new engine.
Who type?
Type 1.
Yeah, and who's the manufacturer?
KME.
What?
KME. That's pretty much what we've been buying.
Did you drive it from back east?
No, they deliver them now.
Oh, okay.
We get enough of them to where that would be a full-time job to go back
Yeah.
out there and keep going back and forth. But anyway, nice to have a new engine in service. On Thursday, Rod can't talk about it, but we'll be joining them for their annual missing swimmer drill. A lot of times, really, when we come together, we're not the water entry piece, so we bring the command and control, the ICS structure that frees them up to get more of their people in the water. So we'll be doing that drill. An interesting thing, we're doing the same thing with the San Clemente State on the same day, later in the same day. And then our annual uptick in air resources is just coming into play. Our second helicopter just got out of maintenance. We thought that February, March, and April you'd be able to do your annual maintenance on a helicopter, but I guess not this year. So we now have 2 helicopters on a day, and then the heli-tanker that we were talking about, the big 3,000-gallon Eoc. Edison paid for that, so the time for sitting, the staffing, the maintenance, Edison pays for it, and then when it's utilized on an incident, the incident pays for it.
Well, they started all the fires, so that makes sense, right?
They're not doing it out of goodness. I can guarantee you that one. They would love to have had their helicopter at the coastal fire.
Yeah, no kidding.
Not saying what started that. So anyway, we have that. We have one, LA County has one, and Ventura County has one. So every fire that we get anywhere in Orange County, even in non-Edison area, so South San Clemente is not Edison, but they're on our initial dispatch. And then if we get on scene and see that it's a significant fire, we can call for the QRF, which is all 3 of them come down. The 3 of them work together with a command and control ship, so it's a pretty impressive thing that's been put together. That's really all I have.
All electric fire trucks, they have them now, you know.
LA City bought one. We went and looked at it, and we drove around in one.
And it's big. I mean,
it's not. Well, no, it's pretty small.
Well, I mean, for an all electric thing.
Oh yeah, it looks like a European type one.
Their streets are narrow. That's
We're
what
gonna
it's designed
They don't
for.
have very far to go.
We're gonna let LA City figure it out.
Yeah.
I think at some point there'll be something that might be worth
What
it.
runs the pump? Have they still got something gas on there that runs the pump?
So it still does have a small diesel engine that can charge the battery if needed.
Oh, okay.
So it's a hybrid then?
It's a hybrid. It's a very small, but my understanding that small engine is just to charge the battery. You can't run the vehicle off of that diesel engine. It's just to charge the battery if needed. So there's a little bit of length of time. I think there's some things that need to get worked out on it. I got some videos of it leaking quite a bit day one, so we're all laughing. But I think LA City, and there was one other city up there, but that was more of a political purchase, right? Because LA City is supposed to be all electric.
Green, yeah.
I can't remember the date, but so we'll see. We'll let them figure out and work the kinks out. They're too expensive to experiment with, at least for us. Maybe not LA City. That's all I've got.
How about our recommendation for the 4th firefighter on the engine? that was approved, right? And
Technically, that was approved about 4 years ago. Oh, for the
Code amendment.
The code, yeah, for the city, we want.
Yes,
yeah.
that was approved, correct.
and has the city attorney told the fire district that they can go ahead and do it, or are we waiting?
Well, they already have.
Nothing changes
for-
operationally.
Yeah.
The ordinance has gone through.
All it did was codify what we're currently doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that in the future, if budget times hit and they say, hey, let's reduce staffing on the fire department, they'll have to go to Tony's shop because we're protected, so let's reduce the sheriff's. She's not even here to hear it. Well, really, there's no increase in staffing. That increased to a fourth person. We've had 4 on engine 60 and truck 59, and they increased it on engine 50 5 years ago now. We're kind of in a process of, we paid for it for a couple years, and the city is slowly taking over those payments. So there's no increase or change in our staffing. It just codified it so that in the future,
A lot more
it would be more difficult to reduce.
We had a
staffing.
council member who wanted the flexibility to cut staffing for budget reasons, if possible. And so that makes it much more difficult to do that.
Yeah, but it's
Just
really
another
a
step.
safety issue for the firemen and women, yeah.
Yeah, so, and it sends a good message, and it'll just make it a little bit harder down the future.
Okay.
Still not impossible, but it'll make it harder if they wanted to reduce staffing in San Clemente.
Yep. Let's see, marine safety, Captain Malott's not here, but my grandchild is currently heavily involved in the junior lifeguard program.
Yeah.
And there's hundreds of these little kids with these red beanies on, running all up and down the beach and stuff like that. It's really
That's a good question too, when they sign up for it, and I have 6 grandkids, they gotta be on a computer at 8 o'clock in the morning to get them in.
Yeah, it was closed in like 15 minutes.
And the problem is, I don't know if we could do this or not, but sure it'd be nice to give San Clemente children priority. No, because it's,
Really?
it's all
There's San Clemente kids that got shut out of
They
it.
didn't get to go.
Well, there's a ton.
Yeah,
Because
a ton
they
of San
couldn't go.
Clemente kids.
That were
Because-
sitting at the computer and hit
So you
submit
know that-
and got locked out immediately.
And you get locked
They were
out.
95th on
So
the
you
list.
get people from all other cities that do it. So my daughter-in-law and my daughter saying, hey, let's split the city of that. Well, I don't know. Is there some way the city can say, hey, San Clemente residents get priority?
Because it's San Clemente lifeguards. It's not state lifeguards or county lifeguards.
Yeah, the San Clemente program is a half-day program, so it's, the county and the state program is a full-day program, so that's why San Clemente is very attractive. to
Well, we
the
should
rest of
look
the
at that.
county.
That's
It
interesting.
doesn't sound fair at all.
Well, it's
Not to our city
unbelievable. It
residents.
happens
I didn't
every
know
year.
that.
Your grandkids want to get it, your granddaughter gets it, your grandson doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, why is that? Well, because
luck of the draw.
my wife was trying to do it, my son-in-law was doing it, my daughter was doing it, all going at the same time, locked out.
Talk to Samantha Wiley and see what she
It'd be an interesting thing to ask, if he has any
Yeah.
control on it.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a law that says you have to open up like that or not. I don't know.
If the committee would like, I can talk to Captain Malott after this meeting and just let him know what
That'd
was
be great.
discussed and ask
That'd be
if
great.
there's, more information he can provide at the next
yeah.
meeting.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Get early access or something for residents.
Yeah, day before or whatever.
How could you go about doing that? How could you make the registration fair, though? I mean,
City
can you
resident.
pre-register?
So you have to like
Can't
a
think of a mechanism.
pre-registration where the parents go down like with an ID or something to physically do it. There'd be no way to do it
They all
online.
gotta take a swim
You'd have to-
test. They all gotta take a 2-minute swim test to even get into the program. So when they do that swim test
Oh,
and
they
pass
could-
it,
right, they
that-
could do-
they could do it
They
that
could do
way.
the early,
Yeah.
that's a good
Yeah,
idea.
if you're a San Clemente resident.
I just wonder, are there enough spots for all the San Clemente
I think
children that
there, I
want to
think
get
there
in?
are.
Well, I'm pretty sure there are.
There's a lot of spots, but like I said, it pulls countywide. I mean, I grew up in Laguna Niguel, and we would always come down to San Clemente as well. It's the half-day program, and it's one of the only ones that offers the 9 to noon or 1 to 4, whatever it is.
Even if they only half filled it, then they open it up to general public and it would close in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was where I was getting at. Is,
Yeah, it would be full, 'cause
Limited
it-
time, just residents only.
They had like Malott said they had 200 kids on the waiting list.
Yeah, it's crazy.
On the wait this year.
Well, and they hadn't had it for a couple of years because of COVID. So
Yeah.
you know,
It was always like that, though.
Yeah.
I think it's been pretty tough to get into.
Yeah, and I will say I've heard that most other programs in beaches, parks, and recreations, the recreation programming, are all like booked quickly and
Yeah.
fully.
Not,
Which is a
not
very
as bad as
popular.
that one, but yeah, they get booked pretty
Yeah, because
quick.
it's the smallest.
I know
number.
for San Clemente, it's a rite of passage for some of these kids. You know.
Oh,
Some of them, because they get to jump off the pier at the
Yeah.
end.
Oh, yeah.
All my kids do.
Not a good deal.
Yeah, they love it.
We do this county program at Strands,
Oh, gee.
because I just won't mess with San Clemente. It's just, I got 3 kids. I'd never get home for even a minute.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good one.
It
but,
doesn't Parks and Recs when you sign up for that, doesn't it make you prove residency?
well, it's like the school district make you prove residency.
But I
and
mean,
you got,
yeah, I mean, but at least
I
if
don't
you're already in the
know.
system as a resident, you know.
Yeah.
Because I thought,
haven't-
like when I
haven't
signed up
had
for
kids
Mr.
here.
Hermosa School and stuff like that, I have my kids all in the system. Probably had to do something with residency when I signed up for that. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Okay. We got that. Now, committee chair, I want to thank Joe again.
Well, thank you, and I'll take this.
I'm not. Because if one sign, I gotta get Rod
Oh, I
to
see.
sign
I
this
got
dude
you.
off, and I
I
can.
get Forty's number.
Well, it's up to you. You're the one that.
I'll just hit.
No,
I
I'll.
can see- Yeah, I can see.
I'll.
Did you see the small print says you're a member emeritus now, which means forever.
Once a member, always a member.
Like
Emeritus,
your
I
part.
always wondered about that.
Yeah.
Check in, but you can't leave.
Yeah, that's right.
But
Well, I'm really impressed with the 2 new people that's gonna be on it. You guys are gonna do real well. Thanks for doing this.
3 new members.
Keep him in line.
Sounds like a big job.
It's a big job.
That's the judge's job. I'm still a prosecutor when I run
The
that.
gavel was packed away. Not gonna bring it to the.
Yeah, all right.
Jeez. So,
But I don't have anything.
but very good, very good. But thank you. Thanks for the cooperation, Lisa, from the public safety folks all the time. Good job. Committee members.
I'm done.
Thanks again, Joe. I think one of the things I'd like to do, though, we need to get the new members' contact information so we can communicate to them in an appropriate manner. No more than 2 of us at a time and all that other kind
Well,
of stuff.
actually, until they get sworn in, you can talk to them all you want.
Yes.
You can. It's not a violation till they get sworn in.
Well, I prefer to do things according, the regulations, but can we get, how do we do that? How do we,
Staff.
staff will send out?
I got a pen and paper, I can.
You're gonna be good, Miss Camilla.
That works.
That's why he was a judge.
We can do
There you
that.
go.
Yeah, city
Keep it
staff.
simple.
City staff will only communicate with committee or commission or council members through their city-issued email address. We don't want personal emails because it opens up your personal emails to a lot of stuff that you don't want. So once you go through HR and you get all that stuff done, yeah, they're getting to that. It should be in the next week or so. Once you get that and you get a city email, and I'm bringing this up just because we're kind of on the topic. I will be providing an email to everybody, but I'll BCC each of the members, and I'll provide some background information that's been historically provided to the committee members before. However, once their city email address is just going to, it's just going to be the standard.
So,
Last thing
I have
first.
my city email address.
Probably forever. They probably won't ever shut it off.
Where will they shut that off?
They'll shut that off. I would say June.
July 1st. Oh, wow.
Right at
Oh, wait, we can't get
midnight.
cameras for a year. If you can shut down Joe's email.
4:59.
No neighborhood watch help, but you're done.
And who do I talk to?
We're trying to protect information we already have. That's more important than protecting information that we have yet to observe.
That's
and
true.
record.
Holy shit.
What did you just say?
You sound like an attorney already.
Just listen.
Holy.
All right.
All right, where are we? Where?
Continue on, because then I've got some other
Okay.
things to tell you why I'm.
I got nothing.
Good.
He got nothing.
Our goal is to be out here by 5 o'clock.
I know. I
5:30.
know.
Yeah.
Come on.
We were close.
All right, so now, I got one other thing. I got a question. I got a suggestion from Charlie. That what about public safety and the schools? You know, this active shooters and those type of things. So I was able to reach out to one of my friends who's on the school board and to make an introduction with their Capistrano Valley director of whatever and that. And I was about ready to call him directly, but he says, I just got COVID. So that's going to be delayed just a little bit, but he's right there, and I want to talk to him how this is going to go and how we coordinate together and those type of things, because everybody's got a silo. Fire department, police department, city, and now you got the schools, and a lot of times they don't talk. And the big thing is talking, just getting it together. So I want to see where he's coming from and how they're doing it. I know that Tony, I mentioned it to him, and he says that there's a unit in the sheriff's department that just does that type of work with the school district, and I got to get more information on that.
They had a
You're a
big.
school resource officer.
It's higher than that.
Yeah. They just had a huge exercise, and I don't know what school it was. It was a high school, though. I mean, it was after the Uvalde thing, but it was already scheduled to be, because they do it like biannually, and it was a big one, you know, with fake dead bodies and all that stuff they do. Yeah. So I think they're.
That would be good to go from the top. You know, my daughter and her husband are both teachers over in Henderson, Nevada, and I brought that up particularly because of these Uvalde shootings and everything. Frankly, they don't really know what to do or what to have. I mean, they get some really kind of training, and I said, well, that's all you get. You don't know, and no,
it's not one size fits all.
The teachers don't seem to be getting what they can really do and not do, and what the recommendations are. At least that's my limited sampling.
I think for our purposes, make sure that everybody's on track and talking to each other.
No, communication is always important. But
that's critical.
Yeah, I think this committee really needs to kind of address that issue. These mass shootings are going on at schools. San Clemente is not immune from those kind of problems.
Well, it only takes one
we had
shooter
one
to
couple
do
years.
it.
It wasn't a shooting, but they had SWAT team down there at San Clemente High School. At one point, that was
just in case for the
no, there was
copycats
actually
and-
something going on in there. I can't recall, but it was pretty impressive when you went down there. You saw the tanks, and everything. They had all the armored vehicles that they have. And Tony wasn't on the duty then, but yeah, so it could happen here. Yeah. So keep it up. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. City staff.
Okay, so we're working on the inspection program for massage establishments, and we're planning to have that ready to go at the beginning of the next fiscal year, so next month. And we are just finalizing some stuff with our internal documents, and then we're going to get together with Vice and do some additional training, and so that is being done. We talked about the new committee members. I'm really glad both of you are here. Before you leave, I'll give you my card. And
What are your names again?
Bill.
Bill.
Amy.
So I'll give you my card, and if you wouldn't mind just shooting me an email or something at your convenience. It's always nice to get together before the beginning of the first meeting, just go over some kind of background information. And also just do a little bit of orientation and answer any questions that you might have about the history. This group has been going at it for 2 years now, and it's the last new committee that was created. So luckily there's not too much history. But unfortunately, in that time, you guys have really done a lot of stuff. So I'll try my best to remember everything. The city is going to hire a new code compliance manager to replace my old position. When that happens, that position will be the staff support to this committee. I will be hopefully doing interviews the week of July 18th, and based on how fast it takes to hire somebody in the city, we're looking at probably middle of August, late August, possibly beginning of September. I will still be involved in this for a few months. The new code compliance manager is it's an interesting position because it's something that not many code. We have a code division that not many cities have, and I was lucky enough to take it on when it was just code enforcement, and then things were added to it, and I was able to learn and adjust step by step. Mm-hmm. Somebody needs to come in and really be able to take on all of the things that they do, which is the big three are private property code enforcement, park ranger duties, and homeless outreach. But there's a number of other things that we do that are a little bit unique or atypical. It's additional things that division does. So there'll be a significant amount of time spent training this person. So I will still be involved in the meetings. In the August agenda, I would anticipate the first work plan item being there for consideration, because if we want to get it to the council by October, we want a vote on a final or a recommended draft in September.
Of a work plan?
Of a work plan to be submitted to the city council by October.
Okay, all right.
So there'll be a new face assisting and then eventually taking over these duties.
Is there any chance that somebody that already works for the city might interview for that position?
I could see somebody applying for it, but they're
going to need higher qualifications, probably more experience or something.
It's a broader range of experience that I'm not sure that anybody that's currently working here would have.
So if he can't find a replacement, he still has it.
You're saying, yeah, he's got to stay.
You can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
No, there's probably nobody who really is qualified anymore.
Yeah, you're the only one.
We're using an outside firm to recruit this position.
Nationwide?
I don't think that would surprise me. If we could get the greater Los Angeles, San Diego area.
Well, this will be really interesting because on their qualifications, the sense of humor is not going to be on there. So I'm not sure a real stiff is going to work out that well.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but we'll see.
So what else is on your mind there, Adam?
Oh, I've seen him laugh a lot before.
Yeah, that's right.
I've seen him do nothing but laugh.
Not at these meetings.
No.
I know you guys. That is all. Those are the only updates I've got. I think everything else that I was going to discuss, we've discussed at some point in the meeting.
Okay, Rebecca.
No, I really enjoy working with you guys and love learning. Get to learn a lot.
Are you leaving?
No, I'm still here.
Looks like she's got her exit strategy.
Holy mackerel! They're all good.
Yeah, thanks for getting all these notes in the notebook.
Yeah.
It makes it nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very professional.
Yeah, and I'm going to make new ones for you guys for next week for sure.
Thanks for meeting.
Absolutely.
Very good. Oh, and thanks for helping us out with our
You
little.
write that? That was very good. I didn't think you wrote that. That was very nice.
Should I make a motion to
I was going to
adjourn the
ask who
meeting?
wrote that.
Second? Well, you asked for the
Well,
second.
We got to say to when.
You got to say
26th.
the words.
Didn't I just say I move that the meeting be adjourned?
To where?
To when?
Oh, I don't remember.
26.
Here it is, right there, right there. Just read it, read
Oh,
it.
yeah. I move that we adjourn this meeting to the next regular meeting of the Public Safety Committee to be held on Tuesday, July 26,
Second.
2022, 3 o'clock p.m. in the community room of City Hall at 910 Calle Negocio, San Clemente, California, 92673.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.